Welcome back, Webtoon fam. Zaiden on deck, let's kick off our epic pulse-pounding saga. I want to get better, so I'm waiting for your comments under the video. Today the 28-year-old Linio is still stuck in a black streak in life. The old fart who calls himself his boss said the company has to cut people. Even after 2 years at the company, Linio got thrown out like trash after a corporate party. A lonely orphan dreamed about building a career, making a lot of money, and never having to hold himself back. Basically, that is the dream of every young guy, but real life is way more complicated. The head of the department tried his best to support him, but it was nothing more than pretending. The old fart even suggested going to a local restaurant for a farewell lunch. That disgusting old man knows perfectly well Linio will refuse. Unfortunately, even a small walk outside is hard for our main character. He limps on one leg, and in the eyes of society looks like just another disabled guy. Because of that, people usually pretend not to see him and just walk past. 2 years flew by before he even noticed, and he will probably even miss this place. There was a time when he could run like lightning and nobody could stop him. This kid was a talented athlete who could outrun any police officer. But everything ended the day an inexperienced driver hit him on the road. Linio got injured, and now he has to listen while people make fun of him. He was ready to grab his things and go back home, but then Kim Chaeun sat next to him. The red-haired beauty works in the same office and still does not know Linio got fired. They are not really friends, but they always had nice conversations. Back in the day, girls like her were always around the main character, but now he has almost forgotten what a date with a girl even looks like. He told her he is getting fired and heard the classic words of support. Kim started saying all that nonsense about how he will definitely find a new job and his life will only get better. The conversation stopped when voices suddenly appeared in their heads. No, these two did not go crazy because everyone else hears the voices too. An unknown voice warned that a total purge called recruitment is starting. Anyone who fails to hide in the safe zone will die. The boss from the neighboring department ignored it like a student ignoring homework. As usual, he decided to bother the beauty again and remind everyone who the boss is and who they should listen to. Linio tried to protect the girl, but he was quickly reminded that he is just a cripple who cannot even run. This is not the first time he hears these insults, but he has nothing to say against the truth. Besides, right now it does not even matter because the most interesting part of the story is starting. A green safe zone appeared out of nowhere, and nobody even understood what it meant. The office workers decided it was just another prank from the young boss and ignored it completely, even though the voice in their heads clearly warned that anyone who does not hide will die. Linio and his girl also thought it was nonsense. They calmly walked back toward the office and had to pass through the green zone. It happened exactly at the moment when the timer was counting its final seconds. Call it fate or a perfect coincidence. Long story short, when the time ran out, Linio and Kim were inside the safe zone while everyone else slowly turned into ash. Horrible screams echoed from every direction, and nobody could help them. That is what happens to people who do not respect pranks and think they are invincible. Only a few people ended up inside the safe zone, which means most of the others are already dead. Those who pass to the next stage are promised a reward. They can choose any basic body enhancement thanks to the system that appeared right in front of their eyes. The moment Linio saw he could heal his injured leg, he stopped thinking about anything else. He quickly pressed the button and reduced the damage by 20%. Of course, that is only the beginning, but already enough to speed up his step. While everyone around him was trying to recover and understand what was happening, everything in his head suddenly clicked. Whatever is going on, Linio now has a chance to heal and get his old speed back. For that, this loser is ready to do anything, even step over other people. Memories from the past flashed before his eyes when he used to run faster than Usain Bolt. He can not only heal himself but also gain unbelievable strength, and he has nothing to lose because he is just an unemployed guy who wants to achieve something. His leg really does feel better, which means the system is not lying. In the next stage, even fewer people will remain because the battle for survival has only just begun. Now he needs to look for things that can be used as weapons. The second stage will start any minute, so it is better to hurry. The red-haired beauty still does not understand how serious everything is. She watched too many Disney cartoons and thinks the apocalypse will end with a wedding. It is time for her to accept reality and understand the world has changed and now everyone is on their own. If she wants to survive, she needs to stick to Linio like a leech and not step away from him for a second. His legs used to be slow and clumsy. Now the condition is better, although there is still a lot of work ahead. While the office workers were lost in their thoughts, the system reminded them that the second mission is about to begin. 10 minutes remain and the next safe zone is inside the building. There are 3 floors with safe zones, but the space is limited. I can already imagine the office workers cutting each other just to get behind the green barrier. Meanwhile, Linio rushes upstairs using the stairs. The elevator might stop, so it is not worth the risk. He stretched his leg a little and together with his girl quickly reached the nearest safe point. They had to move their legs faster because a real slaughter for free spots had already started here. People quickly turned into monsters ready to kill each other just to survive. By the way, the same thing happens when they give out free donuts on the street, but that is not the point right now. If you look at the size of the safe zone, it becomes obvious most people will not fit inside. There is no time left to go to the next floor. That means everyone has to squeeze together like people in a subway train. Kim pressed so close to Linio, she even felt the candy bar in his pocket. Then the screams started because there was no space left for the head editor. He desperately tried to squeeze into the safe zone, but there was simply no room. Editor Kim wanted to help her boss, probably hoping he would raise her salary. Linio warned her it was dangerous, but the girl had a heart that was too kind. She rushed forward even though only 3 seconds remained before the stage ended. She managed to grab the boss by the hand and pull him toward her. At that moment, Kim did not even realize what a huge mistake she was making. When the time ran out, the portal turned into a burning blade and sliced the man into 2 parts. At first, it almost looked like he suddenly lost weight and became way too light. But everything changed when blood started flowing everywhere, and the terrified people screamed like pigs at a slaughterhouse. That is what happens when you try to help your boss. Deep down, every editor in the office was probably celebrating. Linio hurried to calm his friend, but she was upset like someone just announced there will never be a second Barbie movie. No words helped the girl who fell into darkness. She feels guilty about the boss dying, and normal motivation in the style of David Goggins will not fix this. Because they pass to the next round, the system can reward the winners again. That means Kim should ask for improved psychological stability. Linio gave her a few tips and asked her to repeat after him. Even though the girl looked like she was in a trance, she still did what he told her. To be honest, in a moment like this, he could have taken advantage of her, but Linio acted like a true gentleman. The improved psychology worked immediately, and the girl stood up from her knees. She calmly said she needs to change her tights, and after that she is ready to continue the recruitment. Now that is what I call psychology, and you do not even have to pay for it. While everyone else was trying to increase their strength and speed, Linio healed his injured leg again. Now his leg is restored by 70%, and in the next stage he might completely get rid of his biggest problem. At the same time, he is still noticeably behind everyone else, so the competition will only get tougher. The third mission started, and everyone immediately got nervous. Linio told his girl to move faster because now they are a real team. In just a few hours they got closer than during their entire previous lives. Does that mean every apocalypse actually brings people together? Alright, I did not say that, or YouTube will demonetize me, and I will have to move back to my mom again. As soon as the heroes reached the 3rd floor, they realized the previous problems were just a warm-up for what waits ahead. This is where the real bloodbath in the style of UFC begins. The guy you see right now is called Pitbull because of his explosive temper. He was always a quiet guy, but he would explode with rage in any confusing situation. Today he completely lost his mind, and now he is blocking the entire safe zone like a greedy cheater hogging all the loot. The other employees always ignored him, and today the moment of payback finally came. Linio had seen this guy before and never thought he was such a psycho. He always looked kind of scared and way too closed off. The department boss tries to talk some sense into this fat guy and reminds him he should not act like a pig. Looks like Pitbull does not care at all, because in this world there are new rules now. He swings the bat with full force and smashes the boss in the head, sending him straight into a coma. That is what happens when you delay salaries and treat your workers like garbage. Now everyone gathered here is risking their life because of this psycho. To get into the safe zone, someone somehow has to calm him down, and that is not easy at all. For years he swallowed humiliation and insults until he finally exploded like a nuclear bomb. Looks like he kept all that anger inside for way too long, and now he dumped it on everyone at once. While everyone else ran in different directions, Linio slowly and confidently stepped forward. Looks like this guy watched too many Indian action movies, and now he is afraid of nothing. There is very little time left before the mission ends, so they need to negotiate. He reminded Pitbull that they had seen each other before and never had any conflicts. Linio decided to play it smart and started from a distance. He made it clear that in this game people need to unite and build alliances. Anyone who turns the crowd against himself is doomed to a brutal death. If Pitbull does not want to become a target, he needs to change tactics and make friends with the crowd. Everyone would probably agree that sounds pretty logical. The only problem is logic does not work on crazy fat guys who ate too many donuts and think they rule the world. Pitbull throws a glass pot straight at Linio's head and he barely manages to dodge at the last second. A normal conversation almost cost him his life. That is what real restructuring looks like. By the way, the system is also measuring every player at the same time to study their stats. In the future that will help improve abilities and reach a new level. Meanwhile, Linhyo almost died again, and he should thank the big guy Jaehyuk for helping him. This guy is one of the few people who stays calm and balanced in a crisis. During the conversation, he admitted that he served in the army not long ago and learned to stay disciplined no matter what. That kind of guy could become a good ally and help them reach the safe zone. Lin Hyo quickly explained to the others what they needed to do. The world has changed, and now even in a normal office the law of the jungle rules. There is only a minute and a half left before the mission ends, so they have to act hard. The fat guy does not even suspect that his happy life is about to end, and he will never again get a tasty burger with a cold Coca-Cola. Death is rushing toward him at full speed, at least, that is the plan. There was no weapon nearby, so they had to grab a piece of glass. Do not rush to laugh, because sometimes even simple glass and a mop can decide everything. A team of 3 people against Fat Pitbull, almost like a raid against a final boss from KFC. The scared fat guy closed his eyes and instinctively stepped forward. He delivered the strongest hit he could, and the glass shattered into tiny pieces. But that was exactly the plan, because the glass worked like a shield. They needed to knock this guy out quickly, but it turns out he had an ace up his sleeve. A small knife had been waiting the whole time for the perfect moment to pierce soft flesh. The genius strategy did not work, and the soldier felt the knife slide right under his ribs. He dropped to his knees and screamed while Lin Hyo rushed forward to restore some justice. The fat guy clearly watched too much Kung Fu Panda, and thinks he knows every move from the ancient dragon palace. Turns out that does not work when a mop smacks you right in the face. After watching this fight, I am honestly scared of cleaning ladies now, and I do not want any problems with them. The fight was not over yet, and Pitbull was getting ready to show his teeth. The ferocity of this guy is at maximum level, almost like a final boss after 3 energy drinks. But if they keep fighting, there will be no time left to survive. In that case, the only option is to act clean and cold. The main character dodged at the last moment, and the fat guy crashed onto the floor while the crowd cheered. At that exact second, the system announced that time is up, and everyone who did not reach the safe zone will be eliminated. Now the fat guy will spend a long, boring time looking for a McDonald's in hell and getting used to the new world. As for the main hero and his girl, they have already moved to the 4th stage. That means Lin Hyo can finally heal his leg completely and forget about being disabled like it was just a nightmare. Now he finally returned to his roots and still could not believe this was real. The beauty immediately congratulated her hero, who now looked much more attractive to her. Are they about to start kissing and completely forget about the soldier who is bleeding out? Actually, Jaeok is seriously injured and he needs help fast. With tears in his eyes, he was already ready to say goodbye to life, decide who will inherit his dirty underwear, and confess all his sins. But he should not relax because the wound is not deep and the bleeding already stopped. There is no reason to lie on the cold floor. He needs to get up and keep moving. The system reward can be used to restore health and forget about the pain in his side. Now they stick together and act like one team. They have to unite because only that way they can resist the injustice of the recruitment. Right now they are on the 15th floor of the building, exactly in the middle. The measurement of data for unlocking skills reached 12%, and it is still unclear what that means. While Jaeok was trying to flirt with the beauty and show off his big muscles, and maybe not only muscles, Lin Hyo kept running through the corridor like someone put a Duracell battery inside him. Turns out this helps increase the progress of unlocking skills. No one knows what will happen later, but his intuition tells him this is important. Lin Hyo kept running through the corridor, and the system kept recording his progress going up. Maybe he will get some extra abilities like a superhero that will help him finish every mission to the very end. The final mission will begin in just a few minutes, but do not celebrate too early. The system already mentioned the next stage, which means everything happening in this office is nothing more than a warm-up before something bigger. The main hero told his friends to focus and hurry upstairs. There are fewer people left now, which means the elevator finally has no line. But there was bad news too, because now the fight for the safe zone has become even more brutal and uncompromising. This is already a real gladiator arena, not some office layoff. All that is missing now are lions, and it will be perfect. The situation is such that a direct breakthrough looks impossible. The other people also kept receiving rewards and increased their stats, so they cannot be underestimated anymore. He needs to be clever again, and it looks like the hero came up with a plan worthy of a lazy genius. He noticed an advertising divider and instantly understood how to use it. Turns out Lin Hyo is a genius strategist, and he does not even need super intelligence for that. He simply suggested pushing the advertising board onto the crowd and forcing them to scatter in different directions so the safe zone opens up. There is no reason to worry about people because nobody will die from something like that. The plan looked a bit ridiculous, but there was no other option left. The bodybuilding lover Jaeok immediately jumped into action to once again show his muscles to the beautiful girl. Those bodybuilders, just give them a chance to flex, cover themselves in oil, and walk on stage wearing fancy strings. Of course, I do not want to offend anyone, so I apologize in advance to all lovers of barbells and dumbbells. Still, in situations like this, brute force really decides a lot and can even help you survive where others die. Everything went exactly according to plan, and the moment the advertising board crashed onto the floor, people scattered in all directions, leaving the safe zone open. Everything was perfect until one pervert decided to attack the beauty Kim. In the previous stage he lost his wife, and now he needs a replacement. The main hero was not about to give the beauty to this creep, and immediately ran to deal with the problem. Looks like he ran for so long that Kim decided not to wait for help and stand up for herself. But her long hair played a cruel joke on her. By the time Linhyo finally showed his heroism, he managed to save the beauty. I think everyone already noticed he is not the classic hero who beats enemies and kills monsters. Instead, he shows intelligence and maximum practicality. Sometimes success only requires ordinary scissors that could have been taken on the previous floor. Back then, Linhyo could not even imagine what role this small tool would play. He freed his friend and then demonstrated a signature kick from Taekwondo style. The pervert collapsed onto the floor and heard that time had run out. Now no begging will help because the system will turn him into dust. After passing the mission, the soldier could not believe the girl he had fallen for no longer had her long hair. I think it actually suits her better, and Linhyo could probably work part-time at a barbershop. She was not upset at all, and even thanked her hero for saving her again. There is definitely some spark between them, and I would gladly watch how this ends. But now there is no time for jokes because the recruitment is in full swing. The system spoke again and reminded everyone the fun has only just begun. The introductory stage has ended and only the strongest survived. Now all the company employees gathered here must meet the administrator. When people hear the word administrator, they imagine something terrifying, and most of the office workers have probably already put on diapers. People instinctively press together like penguins during the end of the world. Every one of them understood that one more second and they could simply be erased. The administrator turned out to be a small and actually very cute girl. She looked clearly upset that too many people were still alive, and now she had to do the dirty work. One guy started asking her a bunch of questions like he had some kind of authority. She quickly reminded him that his life is now in her hands, so he better shut up. The little troublemaker looked around and quickly asked who came up with the plan with the advertising board. Linhyo decided to stay silent while the cleaning lady said it was her idea. Looks like the cleaner was sure she would get some kind of reward, but that was a bold lie. The administrator immediately moved to punish the liar and show that tricks like that do not work here. If the survivors think they can lie without consequences, that is their own problem. The woman only wanted a prize, but instead got problems like a gamer who tried to download a game for free and ended up with a computer full of viruses. People screamed and ran in different directions while the cleaner was left without her head. While blood spread across the floor, the administrator slowly looked around like she was enjoying the reaction of the little humans. Today the little troublemaker is too busy to conduct personal interviews. For her, killing is just a small thing, and she simply wants to speed up the cleansing process. Then she asked general questions and tried to find out if there were any athletes and people who left behind something significant. It seems she means outstanding artists and writers, but definitely not TikTok bloggers. The main hero silently watched and did not rush to raise his hand. Linhyo stood quietly in the crowd, carefully observing what would happen next. As soon as the questions ended, the girl disappeared somewhere without even saying goodbye. After that, the system activated a project called Selection and warned that only a few minutes remain before the next trial begins. It looks like agility will become one of the most important skills, and now everyone needs to improve their body as fast as possible. For completing the last mission, all surviving participants received a random reward box. Only fools celebrated because they did not understand it could contain anything. I would not be surprised if it is some kind of trap, and we are about to see even more blood. A young couple received a box full of money, and they were almost jumping with joy. Fools do not understand the world has completely changed, and now money is just useless dust. You can forget about fashion and Instagram accounts because now strength, speed, and intelligence are what matter. The administrator girl can slice a person apart with just a touch, which means if you want to survive, you have to become stronger. Linhyo hoped the box would contain something useful and not a brand new iPhone with no charger and no warranty. The moment he touched the box, a flash of light blinded his eyes. While Linhyo was dealing with his gift, the other people were checking out their shields, spears, and swords. All of that can actually be used in battle, especially when civilization is basically gone. For example, the soldier Jaeok received a shield that should help him stop taking hits under the ribs. The main hero was much less lucky than everyone else. In his hands was a tiny stone like fate itself was mocking the guy. He could not recover for a long time, and cursed his entire life from beginning to end. Then things became a little clearer, and the system announced the opening of the arena. Of course, nobody understood anything, and people kept looking at their weapons. The beauty Kim received a dagger, but she has no idea how to use it. All the allies are ready for the next stage, and Linho looks like the weakest link in the team. He has no idea what to do with this stone, like a caveman who was handed an iPad. But it is probably not just a regular rock, there must be some hidden meaning. All it takes is a little pressure, and the stone suddenly becomes soft and sticky. After that, his finger turned to stone, and his hand hardened from the inside. Looks like our main hero just unlocked a skill of petrification, and the prank went completely out of control. He thought the system was making fun of him, but instead he got an awesome ability. Now he can easily punch through even concrete walls with his finger. I am honestly afraid to imagine what would happen if this guy became a proctologist. That kind of durability can definitely be used to his advantage, but that is not all. During the missions, he collected points that can now be spent on upgrades. He asked the system to extend the stone finger skill to the second hand. Meanwhile, the newlyweds had already started arguing about the easy money. The girl wanted a huge wedding while the guy suggested investing the money into Bitcoin, and of course she called him mentally challenged and even threatened to break up. Because of all that noise, people did not even notice the floor starting to tilt to the side. That means another challenge has just started, where only the strongest will survive. The money immediately caught on fire, and people started to panic. They had to grab onto something solid or they would fly straight out the window. Everyone who failed to hold on quickly turned into fried chicken. Linio was doing just fine, except his girl once again created extra problems. He had to risk his life again and save her from certain death. This time the stone fingers were very helpful. I bet every girl watching this story already wants a boyfriend with a skill like that. For a moment it felt like the worst was over and everyone could breathe out like after passing an exam. At that exact moment a table flew straight at the main hero and his girl. Not the best situation for a first date, and it looks like everything is about to end in disaster. Linio saw his whole life flash before his eyes, and then the system gave him another surprise. For his determination to win and his progress in unlocking the skill, he receives maximum acceleration. Usually when people talk about acceleration, you imagine Sonic running faster than everyone else. But here it works a little differently because when Linhyo activated the ability, time froze like the internet on an old laptop. Just imagine what this idiot could have done with a power like that. I am not even going to list all those crazy things because I am sure you already imagined plenty in your head. But Linhyo kept it simple and just saved his girl from dying. Of course he might be hiding a few details about what really happened. I would not be surprised if during the rescue he even used those stone fingers of his and stuck them somewhere he should not. Maybe she did not mind, but honestly that is not the point. The point is he saved her life again, and now the team is waiting for the next stage. The stone fingers and the acceleration skill already make Linhyo one of the strongest surviving office workers. For now he has not fully developed the acceleration skill, so there is still a lot of work ahead. Just 5 seconds later, people felt the floor starting to tilt again. This time nobody was laughing, and everyone understood how this could end. The soldier hurried toward his friends before it was too late, but halfway there he felt like he could not take another step forward. Now it is clear what the administrator meant when she talked about the arena stage. Surviving here is even harder because everything feels like a giant scale, where it is almost impossible to keep balance. The little troublemaker clearly wants to get rid of her responsibilities and eliminate the extra humans. That is exactly why she gives such brutal tasks and never explains the rules. Ideally, people should have grouped together to keep the balance, but in the middle of panic, nobody understood that. Everyone was thinking only about themselves, and from the outside it looked like the collapse of another crypto exchange, where everyone desperately tries to withdraw their money without realizing bankruptcy is already around the corner. One young guy simply tried to run away thinking the elevator would somehow help during the apocalypse. Of course it ended badly for him, and he quickly found himself one step away from death. Everyone immediately started grabbing heavy furniture and each other's hands. Screaming and panic swallowed the crowd faster than another statement from Trump. This is the perfect opportunity to polish his acceleration skill. Time slowed down again, and Linhyo once more found himself one step ahead of everyone else. In the middle of the chaos, nobody even noticed the man in the fancy suit floating through the air. This young guy is called Choi Jr., and he even has access to Administrator Hirona's room. The little troublemaker ordered that nobody is allowed to enter, but she was just informed that in Sector 7 13 people survived, even though everyone was supposed to die. The problem is that among them there is a tricky guy who keeps saving everyone. Somehow he always finds a way out of impossible situations like a cheater with a guide. Hirona got interested, and now she will be watching him closely. If he is really that clever, then we will see how he deals with the monsters that survived in another sector. Even the junior assistant did not expect such a brutal order. Looks like today Sector 7 will still be completely wiped out by order of the Little Witch. Our main hero and his friends have no idea how bad things really are. Thanks to his speed, Linhyo managed to gather the participants and balance the arena. Now nobody can move if they do not want the nightmare to continue. The main hero made a perfect calculation like a school kid trying to steal his grandma's pension. After some time the fire died out, and the system announced that another stage was cleared. It looked like everything was finally over, and people could relax for a moment and answer their friends asking painful questions about speed and skills. Everyone wanted to know how Linhyo always stays one step ahead like some Marvel superhero. Ordinary people do not see speed like that every day. This is not the filming of another Fast and Furious movie where everything happens on a green screen. Just when the survivors relaxed, the walls cracked and the building looked like it exploded from the inside. By order of the administrator, the surviving participants of the recruitment now have to play with a little bird. This is not a normal trip to the zoo with kids to look at monkeys. What is about to happen is a bloody slaughter with no way to escape. The monster is already here, and even experienced soldiers have no idea what to do. While Jahyok was panicking, the main hero tried to save his skin. He moved fast and stayed cold-headed because he understood that there would be no second chance. The monster missed its attack, but that does not mean it will not try again. They have to unite and push forward using teamwork. They have to use whatever weapons they have, even if it is just ordinary scissors or a short dagger. Among the survivors, there were people with swords and shields that could actually be used in real combat. Everyone looked terrified and was afraid to make a wrong move, so Kim took control of the situation. She may look like a fragile and defenseless girl, but in critical moments she clearly understands that gender means nothing. Right now she will either survive together with her friends or be torn into pieces, and there is no third option. That is why she risks her life to help her friend fully arm himself and prepare for the fight. After receiving a shield and a sword, Lin Hyo remembered the movie Gladiator and stepped forward like he had nothing left to lose. Finally, the fight has started because all those boring conversations were already getting annoying. If we are watching a story recap with monsters, then seeing a few torn off limbs is basically mandatory. There were several monsters at once, so without agility and speed, you get your ticket to hell very quickly. Lin Hyo gathered all his courage and started swinging his sword, turning monsters into minced meat. Just moments later, blood splashed everywhere like they were filming a horror movie. The soldier was so scared, he did not even think about getting involved. He stood there like he was hypnotized, watching his friend who threw away fear and doubt while fighting creatures from another world. The 28-year-old guy from the lowest class surprised even the administrator and her assistant. By the way, I just noticed the main hero was born in District 13. Shout out to everyone who watched that movie, and those who have no idea what I am talking about can calmly pack their bags for school and not worry about anything. The administrators should have been warned in advance that there are especially talented people among the participants. The information gathering completely failed, and the intelligence team messed up again. You cannot trust assistants, everything has to be done personally. An ordinary guy with no inborn abilities just grabbed a sword and sliced through dangerous monsters from the abyss like they were just pieces of sausage. The system almost seems to give him extra talents after seeing that this guy is ready to put in maximum effort to succeed. At first he was completely clumsy, but now he has reached a totally different level. This guy adapts to battle way too fast and becomes stronger every time. In that case, watching him becomes even more interesting, and Harona cannot wait to see how it all ends. Now we return to the main hero who could really use a shower. Right now he is covered in enemy blood, and even Old Spice will not save him here. The system congratulated him on another success and rewarded him with the highest rank. He received a lot of points for completing the mission, and now he can upgrade his skills. Honestly, he cannot even explain how all of this happened. In that sense, I completely understand him, because sometimes you drink a few bottles of beer and the next morning you think, my God, what did I do? But this is not the time to panic, because the apocalypse is still very real. Now it is Kim's turn to support her friend and take care of his psychological state. Now they have to clean up all this junk and get rid of the stinking corpses. It already smells like rotten meat in here, and even staying inside the building is getting uncomfortable. Lin Hyo hurried to find out what ranks his friends received. The beauty Kim got rank A, while the soldier received only a modest middle rank. The creators of this madness, for some unknown reason, turned this place into a survival casting. The main hero was lucky enough to receive the highest class, but with that comes a huge responsibility on his shoulders. His friend looked completely discouraged and clearly needed support. He was used to being a winner, and today he felt like a useless weakling. Lin Hyo had to restore his confidence the smart and careful way. For example, by asking him for help carrying the body of the monster. Jaehyuk has always been the strong guy, and his physical power did not disappear anywhere. He is still a valuable member of the team, and he should not even think about whining or getting depressed. Those words quickly brought him back to normal. Now the atmosphere improved, and they could slowly move forward again. After finishing another mission, the survivors received a batch of updates. Now they have access to a shop where they can spend experience points earned during battles. Here they can buy basic weapons and protective gear. At first glance, nothing special, but during a fight against monsters, even the smallest thing can make a huge difference. Everyone started browsing the shop inventory and making annoyed faces like they actually had a choice. Now bonus points are the main currency, and you can throw your dollars straight into the trash. Those who did nothing received no points, so they cannot buy anything. It sounds logical and fair, but inequality like that can easily create problems. For many people, the shop looked like useless junk that was not worth buying. Among the items, there was even a broken sword that nobody paid attention to. But the moment Lin Hyo saw it, something suddenly clicked in his head. He realized it might be the most useful item in this situation, even though from the outside it looked like he had completely lost his mind. And when it comes to crazy people, there is always someone nearby ready to stick a knife in your back. So far nobody noticed anything, and the friends were calmly talking about what to do next. They even jokingly called Linhyo an assassin because he was killing monsters like a natural-born killer. No one could understand why he even needed a broken sword, as if that piece of junk could kill anyone. Linhyo realized he only needed the handle of the sword, and a new blade could be made from another material. For example, using the beak of the dead monster, which is clearly stronger than ordinary metal. The lively conversation suddenly stopped because footsteps were heard behind them that could change the main hero's fate forever. He tensed up and turned around, seeing the smug face of a guy in a cap. This guy is named Juan, and something tells me nothing good should be expected from him. He came to express his admiration for the fight that happened a few minutes ago. The guy said he had never seen anyone control a sword so skillfully, like he was born for battle. At first it looked like he was looking for trouble, but Juan seemed to genuinely admire the assassin. No one expected that. Could it be that the guy who was recently seen as a disabled nobody now has real fans? Even though the conversation started friendly and calm, it slowly began turning into a problem. From the outside everything looks strange. An ordinary guy who recently could barely walk suddenly learned to destroy monsters and run at the speed of light. People even started to suspect that Linhyo might be working together with the administrator. Maybe it sounds crazy, but now he is actually under suspicion. That is how life works. Sometimes you save people and risk your own life, but in the end you are blamed for everything. Good thing there are friends who are ready to step in and defend you. The situation stabilized a little, and it is better to end the debate as soon as possible. People are scared and angry, so they are desperately looking for a scapegoat. It is better to step aside and start preparing for the next stage. To lighten the mood a little, let us laugh about the beauty Kim. This whole time she was fighting for her life in high heels. That is what fashion does to normal people. She could have taken them off and moved freely, but instead stubbornly kept suffering through the pain. They had to give her a bandage and help stop the bleeding. Between the main hero and this girl, something already feels bigger than simple friendship. Sometimes one terrible day is enough for feelings to ignite brighter than any flame. Every member of the team has a family they worry about. Only Linhyo has nobody to call because he is an orphan. No one knows what is happening in the outside world, or what news might come from home. As soon as the team finished eating, a protective barrier appeared around the building. The next mission is called Selection, and it will begin tomorrow at 9 hours in the morning. Anyone who does not prepare might as well forget about moving forward. This is the first long break for all the participants of the recruitment since the catastrophe began. After a while Linhyo decided to get some sleep, but it would have been better if he did not. Sometimes during sleep you can have such a nightmare that any apocalypse feels like a walk in the park. A horrible zombie almost ate the main hero and forced him to wake up. He felt cold sweat running down his forehead, and his heart almost jumping out of his chest. Then he activated his stone hands and grabbed the weapon that was made to protect him. 5 hours earlier he had created something special. It all started when he bought the broken sword while everyone around him was just tapping their temple and calling him an idiot. Sometimes an idiot can be smarter than any genius. All he had to do was ask his strongman friend to break the sword apart, even though it was a real pain. The soldier strained himself and did it, and now the assassin steps in. He asked the system to direct his saved points into the petrification skill. Now an even bigger part of his arm turned to stone, and that was exactly what he needed to create a weapon. Next he had to remove the sharp beak from the dead monster. After that, the beak had to be sharpened on his stone arm to prepare the blade for battle. He had to sweat a lot because this is not the same as sitting on the couch and commenting on a manhwa. For working with his bare hands, the system gave him the nickname Human Whetstone. Not the greatest nickname, but still better than Lame Pirate or One-Legged Godzilla. Early in the morning everything was covered in smoke, and it was not easy to find each other. His friends started getting nervous, thinking unknown monsters might have already taken their leader. No need to panic because his voice was somewhere nearby. Linhyo was practicing and sharpening his sword skills. If they call him an assassin, then he has to live up to that nickname 100%. On top of that, he made a few gifts for his friends so they would not fall behind, and could also wound monsters with sharp blades. Now the team is fully equipped and everyone has a personal weapon that fits their size and weight. Turns out being a human sharpening stone is not a joke but a real sign of class. It was almost 8 in the morning and they had to gather their things before the mission started. All the people gathered in the central hall, shifting nervously from foot to foot. The tension could be felt without words because everyone understood that only a few would survive today. Finally the system appeared again and greeted the participants of the game. Now they had to move to the safe zone, and they had only 10 minutes to do it. The safe zone was not close at all because it was located at Seoul Station. That means not only the office workers were dragged into this survival game, but the entire world had fallen into madness. There is not a second to waste, and they have to move out immediately. Outside, the survivors were greeted by a puddle of blood and Kim instantly started trembling. Right now they need to calmly head towards Seoul Station and ignore the chaos around them. There was no one around until a homeless man appeared on their path. At first glance he looks like a regular bum who forgot the last time he took a shower. Maybe he would not mind soaking in warm water with bubbles and a little rubber duck, but nobody offered him that luxury. Besides the bum, the office workers were joined by other people. There were not many of them, but one look was enough to understand each of them had already lived through their own tragedy. Now there were 20 people gathered here, and all of them were waiting for the next mission. This time the mission is called Task Force. Participants must form teams and kill monsters for the entire time limit. For every kill, the team will receive points, and of course in the end the system will announce the winners. Most likely those who kill the fewest monsters will be automatically restructured, or in simple words, eliminated. Teams will consist of 4 people, and for many that is bad news. The smaller the team, the harder it is for every member to carry it to victory. The system automatically assigned the players, and our main hero was not very lucky. His team will include the idiot Juan, who already managed to argue with the soldier and annoy everyone. The participants split into their groups and began preparing for the mission. Some people think the distribution is unfair. After all, a child cannot be considered a full member of the team, since she cannot kill monsters. But the system rules are too brutal, and the participants will either accept them or die with no chance of reincarnation. Alright, this is getting way too long, just start fighting already, or I am going to fall asleep. The only interesting thing is that the little girls were grouped together with the bum. Of course they are scared of him because who knows what is going on inside his head. Then things got even worse because the participants of the selection will be watched by a giant eye. The countdown started, and in 1 hour the winners will be known. Linyo and his friends pressed close together and gripped their weapons tighter. The first monsters appeared on the horizon, and the little girls started shaking with fear. And the most interesting part of this mission is that the zombies used to work in offices too. They are basically former co-workers who failed to reach the next stage. Now of course they look very different, although to be honest they annoyed me even before turning into zombies. Anyway, the battle has started, and may the strongest survive. One little girl was so scared that she could literally feel fear freezing her muscles. Death was already knocking on her door, but luckily the door was closed. The homeless psychopath stepped forward and destroyed the monster without fear or hesitation. One strike was enough to split the zombie in half, which shows the terrifying strength of the homeless man. A frightening aura comes from him like he came here from another world. Linyo felt it and tightened his grip on the sword. They are clearly thinking about the wrong things, because right now there is absolutely no time for deep thoughts. When there are monsters everywhere, it is better not to get distracted and keep looking straight ahead, just like that crazy bum who is protecting the innocent kids. Soon Linyo also joined the party. He started swinging his sword and chopping off heads faster than Netflix releases a new series. His teammates instantly backed him up, and honestly they did not look any worse than their leader. Teamwork allowed them to slice through zombies quickly while they kept crawling in like cockroaches in a kitchen. And do not forget about the ranking, because the team position will decide who moves on to the next stage. The most interesting part is that some zombies kept fighting even after what looked like fatal wounds, while others did not even get up. Lenhyo quickly analyzed the situation and decided to use his acceleration. If I were in his place with such an ability, I would probably just run away and not bother, but he decided to inspect the zombies and noticed some extremely nasty and slimy worms. You definitely do not want to deal with those disgusting creatures. They look like leeches ready to suck every drop of blood out of you. And by the way, when the acceleration ended, Kim saved our hero because he was literally one step away from getting infected. That is probably why he gathered a team, so there is always someone to rely on. Now it became clear that parasites control the zombies from the inside and force them to commit all those horrible attacks. After the first clash, the ranking changed. Linhyo's team scored their first points. The assassin immediately ordered everyone to look for silver threads on the backs of the zombies' heads and kill the worms crawling out from there. It is important to mention that he shared this advice with every participant of the raid, even though he could have focused only on his own team to secure first place. It is always interesting to watch people who were weak just recently turn into predators ready to go all the way just to survive and protect the people they care about. Turns out the main hero, even during the battle, still had time to think and philosophize. Apparently, he does not like that people are forced to play by these horrible rules and carry out dirty tasks. Maybe he should focus more on saving his friends and loved ones, because before the mission ends there is only 1 minute left. The system forces everyone to compete with each other, and Linhyo decided to make it so terrifying that people would beg him to stop. The bum suddenly switched into imposter mode and started feeling like everyone was looking at him like he was weak. That is probably why he grabbed the girl and decided to hurt her, even though she was not even looking in his direction. The guy clearly lost his mind, and a psycho like that should be taken out before he cooks someone else alive. The problem is the mission had already ended, and the points were evenly distributed among all participants. That means nobody will be kicked out at least until the next stage begins. But Linhyo was not going to ignore the behavior of the stinking bum who kept staring at the little girls with pure hatred. He was ready to punish this guy, but the zombies as always forced the plans to change. The system did not give the players even a moment to breathe and immediately pushed them into fighting a new wave of monsters. Everyone around was hoping for the assassin because without him they could not even stop one pathetic zombie. Nobody even suspected that the real problem was standing right next to them and had nothing to do with zombies. The bum suddenly burst into flames and smiled like this was exactly what he had been waiting for. He decided he was the chosen one and started laughing like the Joker. If this guy really has powers like that, it is scary to imagine what he can do to zombies. One touch is enough to burn any monster into ashes within seconds. The bum has the same kind of unique ability as the main hero's speed. That means he is far more dangerous than any monster, and now Linhyo has to keep watching his back. Killing zombies was not enough for the dirty pervert, so he targeted the little girl who kept looking at him. People begged him to stop, but men like him only get more excited when someone pleads. He hates when people look down on him, and in moments like that he just burns everything to the ground without hesitation. The young beauty quickly turned into a charred corpse in front of her friends. Exactly at that moment, the second stage came to an end. The third team was eliminated during the recruitment. In simple words, that means they were turned into dust. You will never guess what the bum was doing at that moment. He covered his face with his hands and laughed wildly like he had just finished watching a Louis C.K. stand-up show. Actions like that definitely cannot be ignored. Everyone around was shaking with fear and barely holding back tears. You do not see such cold indifference toward other people every day. At that exact moment, Linhyo stepped in and told everyone to shut up and calm down. The system announced that the best team would receive a reward, which means the system just rewarded a killer. He clearly liked that because he immediately upgraded his fire skill. Now this guy can burn even the biggest monster to ashes without any effort. Linhyo only tightened his grip on the weapon and did not even look away from the enemies. He told everyone to take their positions and keep following the plan. It is like the guy has no feelings, or maybe he is just extremely pragmatic. Does he really think that the bum will suddenly stop killing people and start acting like a cute fluffy bunny? Apparently right now finishing the mission is more important than killing competitors. With gas canisters and fire you can easily roast the parasites that are desperate to drink blood. By the way, the guy in the cap blended perfectly into the new team and fought like they had known each other since childhood. Meanwhile, the other participants ran into their first serious problem because the little girl suddenly disappeared. The father already thought the pervert bum kidnapped the child, but then he saw that Juan managed to protect the kid just in time. In this difficult moment, everyone tried helping each other like they wanted to reach the next stage together. The problem is the fire bum did not like any of that. He sees himself as the chosen one, and constantly wants to take first place in the ranking. Linhyo told him to go take a shower, and those words became the trigger because right after that the Joker completely snapped. He switched back into crazy laughter mode, and decided to roast everything around him until it turned crispy. But instead of fighting Linhyo, he got smashed with a bottle by the sister of the dead girl. That is what you call bloody family revenge. Honestly, I love moments like that, but this time everything went wrong, and it looked like the girl now would turn into grilled chicken too. It all started so well, and for a moment it seemed like justice would finally win. But Linhyo stepped in and saved another innocent victim just in time. At first he just wanted to pass to the next stage, but he could not stand there doing nothing when he saw someone trying to kill a child. He had to get a little burned, but what would you not do for the future generation? The little girl can even heal her rescuer if he promises to kill the bastard. Turns out local schools teach not only math, but also the art of negotiation and manipulation. After getting the promise, the girl healed the assassin's injury and quickly restored his health. Now everything is fine and she can finally rest. It is time to deal with the Joker, who believed in his own legend way too early. He only uses the skill with his left hand, which means the fire technique is not fully developed yet. In that case, it is time to play a little with the stone fists and show what real power looks like. Linhyo can not only kill the bastard, but also get 3 extra points as a reward for the third mission. All he has to do is combine the stone fists with his speed, and that should not be a problem. Joker always believed the world turned its back on him because since childhood he suffered humiliation from his father and bullying from his classmates. He grew up with hatred inside him and waited all this time for the moment he could take revenge. Then one beautiful day, some unknown force gave him a divine gift. All this time he believed he was the chosen one and only now realized that it was actually true. Everything he dreamed about for so long finally came true, and he suddenly felt an unstoppable desire to take revenge on everyone. But what happens if you break the left hand that allows him to use the skill? Without fire, he quickly turns into an ordinary smelly loser who should probably buy some Head and Shoulders. By the way, the main hero plays the role of Punisher perfectly and punishes scumbags like a pro. Until now it seemed like speed was his main weapon, but I take those words back because the stone fists are the real power. He truly made Joker suffer and did not even notice how he set a terrible example for the kids watching. By the way, the little troublemaker Hirona was personally watching everything that was happening, and she absolutely hated it. Linhyo started getting on her nerves, and she ordered her assistant to finish all this crap. Just a few moments later, the young student finished her long-awaited revenge, but she did not feel any relief. Linhyo stepped aside and let her take revenge with her own hands. Maybe that sounds noble, but in reality, he just did not want to dirty his hands with that stinking bum. By the way, after those brutal punches, he injured his finger, and now he needs help from the healer. After the magical treatment, his hand looks brand new, and the beauty Kim seems especially happy about that. While everyone was celebrating the end of the mission, the system suddenly reported that an outside observer enjoyed the battle and decided to give the assassin a personal gift. The gift could have come from Hirona, who could not take her eyes off the fight. This surprised the assistant because helping ordinary players is strictly forbidden. The little troublemaker told him to shut up and kept staring at the monitor. Besides, other system representatives are also watching this battle, and they need to be entertained. After receiving the gift, Linhyo did not rush to open it like he was afraid of seeing something dangerous. That is not the case with Juan, who acts like he has a spare life in his pocket. Along with the gift came a letter which had never happened before. There was almost nothing written in it, which means the sender wanted to stay anonymous. He watched the fight through the giant eye and decided to reward the most talented player. As a gift, he sent the oil of shining lightning. If you apply the oil to a weapon, then on impact the enemy will be struck by lightning. Sounds pretty good, but the important thing is not to apply that oil to certain other things, if you know what I mean. The assassin decided not to tempt fate and kept his stone fingers out of it. Instead, he took the practical route and applied the oil to his brand new sword. Now it will be even easier to slice monsters apart and fry them with electricity. The system addressed the survivors and reminded them that the next mission will begin in 1 hour. There is almost no time, so nobody should even dream about resting. The next hour passed quickly because the apocalypse does not allow breaks. When the mission began, the system created a safe zone. The loud sound of trains echoed and the countdown started 5 minutes. Anyone who fails to reach the safe zone will turn into dust in a single second. In this challenge, not only speed matters but also intelligence, because first you actually have to find where the safe zone is. Linho, as always, took the initiative like he was born to be the leader, and honestly he seemed to enjoy it. The guy clearly remembered his younger days and his career as an athlete back when people did not see him as a weak cripple and a total failure. By the way, every player has their own safe zone, which means this is an individual mission. They had to split up so everyone could jump into the correct train car in time. The moment Linhyo reached safety, a giant eye immediately moved closer to him. Then a monster crawled out of the eye, and it instantly became clear this was definitely not customer support. Looks like the safe zone was just a pretty phrase to lure the bird into a cage. If the creator of the system wants a show that badly, then stone fists and electric swords are about to put on a performance. The monster roared like Godzilla, and Linhyo almost felt his eardrums explode. He immediately rushed forward, because if he hesitated the monster would crush him first. And honestly, this was the perfect moment to test what the electric sword can really do. Linhyo was ready to start, but the acceleration skill suddenly stopped working. Looks like the monster roar blocks acceleration inside a closed space. At least he still has the sword held by his stone fingers. The main hero instantly switched into chef mode and started slicing exotic meat nice and thin. A few strikes later, the monster was already dead. Its body twitched from the electric shock and collapsed onto the floor. At this point, I would say the sword is not even weaker than the stone fists. But for some reason, the system decided Linhyo failed his mission. While he was still trying to understand what happened, the system already assigned him a penalty. Now let us jump back to the little troublemaker for a moment. Honestly, she keeps speaking in riddles, and it is hard to understand anything she says. She repeats that she needs to become stronger, and for that sometimes rules must be broken. She purposely punished Linhyo by forcing him to face a monster like that. Even though he defeated it confidently, the electric charges will not last forever. Linhyo had no time for deep thinking. This time he managed to use the acceleration skill and passed straight through the opponent in a fraction of a second. After moving through the 18th train car, Linhyo finally realized what the mission actually requires. To succeed in this mission within the time limit, he has to pass through the entire train. The assistant is worried the system bosses will discover that Hirona is breaking the rules. Besides, too many observers are already watching Linhyo, because this guy is a real diamond. He barely has any time left, yet he moves like he believes nothing is impossible. That kind of confidence even attracts arrogant little girls. But if he actually manages to complete this stage, then the reward better be worth it. The main hero is not someone you would envy right now, because the timer is already breathing down his neck. On top of that, faint footsteps suddenly sounded behind him. The little girl is very close. Turns out she was here the whole time watching the bloody chaos. Kids these days really start early, already craving blood and ripped off limbs. A little later, Juan finally showed up, who had been hiding all this time, too scared to stick his nose into the train car. Linhyo had to explain that this will not work and the mission will not be cleared until the entire train is cleaned out. Everyone has to help each other or they will all end up as corpses. Linhyo accelerated and in the next car ran into another monster. Li Yeji from the accounting department had already grabbed a sword and challenged the creature. So far it was not going well because her skills were painfully lacking. Thank God Linhyo was nearby and neutralized the monster in time. To kill creatures like that, you have to pierce the heart or the eye, otherwise their health regenerates. Time is running out, and every second counts, yet instead of continuing the cleanup, the biggest idiot in this story slowly explains to every participant what they should be doing. After that, he finally accelerated and killed another creature. By that moment his skills started malfunctioning, and he could no longer use the stone hands or the electric sword. Slowly he kept clearing car after car, but his strength was fading away. Then the system raised the player level to push him toward success. Now his own eye reached level 2, and if you do not know what that means, then I cannot help you here. Everything suddenly went dark, and then the option to connect with the observer appeared. Sounds cool, except even now nobody knows who exactly this mysterious observer is that keeps sending expensive gifts. The observer even started chatting with the hero like they were hanging out in a favorite streamer chat. All of that is great, but the time is about to run out, and then this kind of friendship will mean absolutely nothing. It would be better if he hurried to help his friends who are doing worse and worse. Kim can barely defend herself because she is too fragile for battles like this. She thought she killed the monster, but it stood up again like Tony Stark inside the minds of Marvel fans. The girl decided to follow her friend's example and ran forward like she had nothing left to lose. It actually worked pretty well, and honestly I did not even know that was possible. But even after that the mission is still failed, and now a penalty must be paid. By the way, a gift also arrived for the girl. Linhyo sent her a message and a piece of moldy bread. If young guys are watching this battle, then take notes on how to treat girls properly. Linhyo sent a message to all his friends to warn them about the danger. 10 seconds later, the final mission started, and another monster rushed forward. The main hero got his skills back, which means he no longer had to fear the bloodthirsty mutant. One electric strike was enough to kill the creature in a single hit. He dashed straight through it, clearing the 18th train car. This was the last of the 3 attempts to clear the entire train in just 10 minutes. The previous 2 failures taught him a lot, so this time Linhyo acted without hesitation and without wasting words. He rotated his skills and carefully controlled the cooldown time. That is what experience does to people, even though many think experience is useless. Without experience, it is impossible to become a great warrior and achieve anything. Unfortunately, not everyone managed to handle the challenge on the same level. Other participants turned out to be so useless that the monsters barely had to try. Linhyo only tightened his grip on the sword, knowing that one day he will reach those who created this twisted game. He reached the 7th train car, where a real massacre had already happened. The soldier Jaeok had already wounded the monster, and now all that remained was one final strike to send that red face straight to hell. The car was cleared, but that does not mean it is time to hug and celebrate victory. Kim disappeared somewhere, and maybe now she is in serious danger. The 5th car was not looking good because the girls were struggling with a massive creature. This situation required brains, teamwork, magical skills, and of course my commentary. On top of that, the monster turned out to be clever and started using people as human shields. Their skills had not recovered yet, so the team had to work together. Kim decided to take the risk and show her accuracy by throwing the sword straight into the monster's eye. If she missed, she would kill an innocent victim, and that would be a complete disaster. Looks like luck was on her side because the strike landed perfectly on the monster. Even the guys froze and were afraid to move, like they had finally admitted that girls can handle things without their help. Alright, that is it. Let us wrap it up. The feminists win this round. Alright, jokes aside. Because things are actually very serious here. Kim needs to remember the feeling she had during that attack, because that is the only way she will be able to repeat the skill in the future. There are 3.5 minutes left, and slowing down is not allowed. Everyone has to return to their safe zones, so nobody disappears after the mission ends. The young father still cannot find his daughter, and now he is begging for help on his knees. During all those fights, the little girl really did get lost. It seems she was somewhere around the 17th train car, and maybe it is not too late to find her. Most likely she got scared by the loud noises and hid somewhere between the seats. And that is exactly what happened, and it looks like the worst part is finally over. Now she just needs to return to her father and never make him worry like that again. Although if the dad plays World of Tanks, then he is probably used to stress already. The selection is finished, and the system congratulates Linhyo on another success. This time he received the title Monster Killer for his hunger to destroy. The observer finished his work and quietly left the train car without even saying goodbye. The survivors calmly left the subway and finally got the rest they were desperately waiting for. Now they could relax and enjoy some good food, which was completely free by the way. No need to constantly look around for monsters trying to kill you. The friends talked comfortably and enjoyed themselves without holding back. Some people even managed to get drunk even though only a few minutes had passed. Most of the surviving participants of the recruitment thanked Linhyo for saving them and promised they would never forget his kindness. Everyone got to know each other and realized they all live in the same district of the city. At this point, it does not really matter because the old world is already gone. They have to forget the past and move forward with their heads held high. Linhyo suddenly stood up from the table and said he needs to leave together with Kim. Everyone looked at each other and immediately realized that some adult content might be coming soon. Meanwhile, Harona and her assistant arrived at a truly terrifying place. A massive castle was built for an enormous man. People call him the director and bow when they see him. He does not like that the little troublemaker keeps sponsoring weak players and breaking the rules. The administrator quickly tried to explain that the guy is special and truly interesting. In response, the director only laughed and forced her to experience unbearable pain. That is what happens to cocky girls who do not respect traditions and rules. Harona kept insisting that the guy is truly special and that the director should take a look at him personally. The director kept laughing because in his experience, average players usually die first. He made it clear that it is better not to play games like that and just follow the rules. Meanwhile, the main hero and his girl started some self-improvement. I will not even joke about that, you already know what I mean. Linhyo wanted his girl to push her accuracy to the absolute limit. For that, he created a special training strategy designed specifically for her and no one else. To learn real accuracy, you need to be afraid of missing, and for that you need a living target. Linhyo suggested aiming directly at him like a guy who took too many loans and decided he has had enough. After a few throws, the system immediately announced that her accuracy skill had increased. Looks like real progress always needs pressure, otherwise people never leave their comfort zone. It is exactly in dangerous moments like that when the system usually unlocks new abilities. By the way, the next mission will start tomorrow at 9 in the morning, and for now the players can check the updated ranking. After the results were calculated, Linhyo once again leveled up. His agility is impressive, and that is not even the best part. Now he can communicate with observers, and this will bring him closer to meeting the beings who organized this insane recruitment. He has wanted revenge for a long time, but the question is whether he is truly ready for it. Now he has to choose a special bonus and open one of two doors. With one step he could end all of his trials, but instead he chose the harder path, where he must investigate and fully unlock his potential. Only that path leads to revenge, so he did not hesitate for even a second. A lonely road awaits him, but he promised his girl he will return before tomorrow's mission and help them survive the next challenge. She could only watch him leave without managing to say a single word. A second later, he found himself inside the training center and looked around completely lost. There was nothing here except white walls, and he did not even notice the giant screen right away. At first glance, it looked like the guy had entered heaven, but in reality, this was just a basic training facility. Here you can study anything from charisma in full Tom Hardy mode to cooking in the finest Salt Bay tradition. Since monsters are the thing trying to kill him, it made way more sense to pick basic swordsmanship. After making his choice, the training arena changed a little. Linhyo felt chills run down his spine and a sword appeared in his hands. But it became obvious right away that without a real opponent, he was not going to learn swordsmanship here. Nobody motivates you better than a version of yourself that wants to kill you. It looked funny, especially considering this was a real fight to the death. While one Linhyo was hesitating, the other was already swinging his sword and trying to kill him, so he had to accept the rules of the game and instantly accelerate. Their skills were identical, so there was no point even dreaming about catching the enemy off guard with dirty tricks. The first clash showed that even basic defense was not easy at all. His stamina kept disappearing while the evil clone stayed on the gas non-stop. Judging by the look on our hero's face, he had already regretted this adventure a long time ago. Right now, he could have been lying on a couch drinking an iced latte and hugging the beautiful Kim, instead of dealing with all this nonsense. But since he made that choice, he had no option except to sweat it out and go all the way. After sitting back in defense, Linhyo switched into counterattack mode and started trading blows head-on. It looked epic and dangerous, but victory was still far away. Because both of them were using petrification, breaking through the defense was almost impossible. With time, the assassin finally started learning how to use the parrying skill he came here to train. He needed to watch the opponent's eyes carefully and try to predict the next attack. At first it barely worked, but with every strike he got better at reading the clone's movements. Long story short, they kept fighting for 7 hours straight because both of them were way too stubborn. After going through absolute hell, Linhyo finally finished the training and completed all the system objectives. His mastery progressed, but it was still only one step on the road to real success. The system offered him the chance to leave the training arena, but he chose to stay. Looks like the guy wants to squeeze out a little more benefit and does not care that tomorrow he has to wake up early for the next mission. The two opponents switched into full Mortal Kombat mode and kept trying to slice each other into tiny pieces for a long, exhausting time. By the time the training finally ended, the main hero looked like a squeezed lemon. During the fight, he realized the opponent in front of him was not just a clone but something more. From his words, it became clear that the figure standing there was actually an assistant instructor. Their techniques were too different, so it was not hard to figure it out. Linhyo suggested moving to the next stage and learning advanced sword techniques. The double gave an evil smile, snapped his fingers, and opened a strange door. He invited the player to take the risk and see how it all ends. The moment Linhyo stepped through the door, he found himself somewhere deep in a forest. This is where the trial lesson of beginner swordsmanship will take place. The task is simple: kill enemies and do it without any pauses. The moment he finished reading the instructions, a vine suddenly wrapped around him. That is what happens when you relax for 1 second and stop watching your surroundings. A giant living flower was already ready to eat him. And this is only a trial lesson, and to finish it, he has to return to the training center. I do not think anyone needs an explanation that this mission was clearly designed by a complete sadist. The monster, as big as a building, has no intention of letting its victim go. Those snow-white teeth are just waiting to grind Linhyo into tiny pieces. One breath from that mouth, and you can tell this plant definitely does not chew orbit gum. But that does not mean he should just give up and drop to his knees without a fight. Basic swordsmanship level 2 stepped in and helped him escape the embrace of death. Now the real fun begins: a battle against a massive swarm of vines. He has to jump, show his agility, and dodge non-stop. At the same time, he cannot focus only on defense because the monster must be destroyed, or the mission will not be cleared. So far, the assassin is handling everything perfectly and getting ideal preparation for tomorrow's new challenge. He has never been this alert before in his life. He has to watch every direction and be ready for attacks from any angle. Everything was going perfectly until Linhyo discovered a strange property of the monsters. Turns out they have regeneration and can grow back their limbs. That changes everything because now killing these creatures is much harder than it looked at first. The guy came up with nothing better than running away to buy himself a little time to think. He needs to find a weakness, and even the most dangerous monsters probably have a weak point somewhere inside. Once he figured out what to do, he accelerated and showed his maximum speed. Looks like the smaller vines are protecting the monster's main core. In that case, instead of running away, he has to charge straight into danger and start cutting his way through. That turned out to be no problem, and Linhyo quickly reached the core, which needed to be pierced as fast as possible. The moment he did it, the monster screamed and began making its final dying cries. The system congratulated him on the victory, and even rewarded him with a trophy in the form of the monster seed. Maybe one day he will figure out what to do with it, but right now there are bigger problems. His actions attracted strange insects that keep getting bigger and bigger. At first glance they might look harmless, but I would not bet on that. To pass the lesson, he will have to kill every single insect, and there are an entire army of them here. The beetles killed the bees so they could feast on the sweet honey. To pass the second mission, he has to kill more than 50 beetles. The bees rushed in to defend their hive, but they were badly outnumbered. Linhyo had to jump right into this fight and finish the job to the very end. Of course he did it, and a few minutes later he was standing on a massive pile of dead beetles, like the last surviving Spartan. While he was trying to leave the battlefield, the assistant instructor could not believe his own eyes. Over the years he had seen many different players, but never someone this talented. There is no hatred or bloodlust inside him, yet somehow he was born to kill. On top of that, a flexible mind and iron will complete the picture, making him something truly special. The doors opened and the blood-covered hero returned from the green hell. He smelled worse than a skunk, but he kept his word and finished the mission all the way through. Only now Linhyo learned that he had basically been sent to certain death because none of the previous system participants ever returned from the green forest, which people later started calling hell. On top of that, the honey inside the forest is so valuable it could break the balance of the recruitment. In that case, Linhyo would gladly go back there, like death itself does not scare him. He completed the mission and now demands his reward, and it looks like what he really wants is the honey. The instructor appreciated the effort and immediately granted him a special pass. Now he can return anytime for sword training and open the doors whenever he feels like it. Excited about this, the assassin rushed back once again, surprising the instructor. This guy is a complete psycho, and anyone who knows him would confirm it. By evening, our hero finally returned to the real world. Covered in green slime, he looked like a worm that just crawled out of its hole. He did not manage to get the honey, but now he has a pass to the green hell. Time inside the training arena did not affect the real world, which means he still has plenty of time to rest. While returning to the base, he heard a familiar voice and found his friend. Kim was crying, which means something bad definitely happened. Actually, everything is fine. She just found out that her younger brother is alive and safe with his friends. Only now she noticed that Linhyo looks a little strange. He promised to explain everything, and right at that moment, new observers connected to him. The number of survivors in this zone exceeded the limit, which means an emergency staff reduction must be carried out. Out of 1,000 survivors in this area, only half are supposed to remain. Great news for the system and a complete nightmare for anyone who just wanted to get some sleep. The situation is putting it mildly terrible, and the system does not even give time to prepare. With every second, people were dying, and nobody understood why. The survivors kept disappearing like some invisible enemy was wiping them out. The friends ran toward the base and almost paid for it with their lives. A giant billboard nearly smashed the main hero's skull. If not for his acceleration, Linhyo would have spent the rest of his life greeting buses and calling Ryan Gosling the greatest actor in Hollywood. It looks like the trouble was not over because right under the main hero's feet, a huge hole suddenly opened. He lost his balance and fell down, and even Kim could not grab his hand in time. In that moment, memories flashed in her mind from when she first started working and took her first steps into adult life. Back then, her young body ended up in danger. A fat maniac appeared nearby who clearly loved cute girls a little too much. Linhyo reacted in time and figured out how to distract the disgusting pig. He helped the girl escape and gave her a few quick pieces of advice. From that moment, she became attached to him forever, and it was like his loneliness pulled her closer. Kim always found time to eat lunch with him and ask how he was doing. Now, thanks to her developed empathy, she unlocked the chance to awaken a higher power. The system granted her access to a skill called psychokinesis. If you do not know what that is, do not worry. The simple version is that now Kim can control the bodies of other people. A moment later, everything around them started shaking, and the falling guy suddenly rose back up. The only word for it is pure fantasy. Deep down, Kim herself had no idea what was happening, and just followed her instincts. She was happy and did not even realize she should run before it was too late. The massive building collapsed in a split second and buried her completely. At that moment, the number of survivors in the district dropped by one. Linhyo was screaming and desperately searching for his friend, terrified to even imagine that she was dead. When he finally reached her body, he saw blood and shattered hopes. His heart was pounding like crazy, but he was sure it was not too late to save her. Turns out that sneaky trickster actually did get some honey after all, and never told anyone about it. Instead of using it to break the recruitment, he decided to save Kim. What can you say? That is probably what real gentlemen do, although Ted would definitely have eaten the honey himself and shared it with nobody. Kim woke up instantly and all her wounds and injuries vanished like they never existed. The observers were just as shocked as the main hero. Looks like even he did not realize the honey was this powerful, and now he almost regrets sharing it with the girl. He probably should have eaten it all himself like a true gigachad. Kim thanked her savior and said she would have done the same, although honestly I do not believe her at all. She is probably just too embarrassed to admit she would have sold the honey on the black market and spent the money on a Beyoncé concert. After calming down a little, they went looking for their friends and quickly ran into their favorite soldier. At first he lit up with happiness like a little kid, and then remembered everything that had just happened. The surviving participants had split up, but right now that does not even matter because behind them appeared a very bad little kitty. This is definitely not the kind of cat you pick up and pet because that would end in disaster. The monster lunged forward, showing off its shiny white teeth. I am not sure if it came here to flex its veneers or if it actually wants to scare someone. Linhyo immediately tried to play with the kitty and quickly realized that was a terrible idea. Only then did he switch into maximum mode and deliver his signature slicing strike. Just do not show this to animal rights activists because they definitely will not enjoy it. The monster was defeated, but it definitely did not come alone. Another beast appeared behind them, sneaking in quietly on its soft paws. The monster called for backup, and suddenly this was a whole gang of fluffy killers. I would love to see the faces of every cat lover right now and ask what they have to say in their defense. Thank God Linhyo is not alone and has real friends nearby. Jahyok had not warmed up in a while, and he knows how to swing a sword too. This guy went through military training, so do not even think about calling him weak. But this fight also needed something a little supernatural. The moment the friends joined forces, things immediately started going their way. 2 trained swordsmen and a girl with psychokinesis can do a lot of damage. The wild cats quickly regretted leaving the jungle and coming to the city. When the last cats finally dropped to the ground, the friends were able to catch their breath. After a few hours, it became clear that right now, everyone has to think about themselves first. The allies scattered around the district, so Linhyo's friends suggested he should not rush anywhere and instead find a safe place to spend the night. During the break, he finally congratulated Kim on unlocking her new skill and even joked that now she will be doing all the dirty work. She did not like that idea at all and immediately got embarrassed. Right at that moment, a message arrived from Kim Hen-ul saying they reached Namsan Tower and are safe. But even that is not as strange as what Kim just noticed. The huge tower is covered by some kind of magical barrier. The earthquake should have destroyed everything, but the barrier stopped it. Something is clearly wrong here, and it would be nice to figure out what is going on. Linhyo immediately ordered them to move out and search for the remaining survivors. At the same time, they cannot forget that a new mission starts in 1 hour, and the entire city is crawling with monsters. So they need to quickly confirm that everyone else is alive and actually safe. Along the way, they kept running into wild cats that there was no time to negotiate with. They had to kill them as quickly as possible without worrying about looking bloodthirsty. The soldier Jayhawk handled this perfectly and celebrated the success for quite a while. During that time, everyone collected experience points, and now it was time to decide how to spend them. Inside the assassin's head, several crazy ideas were already forming, which is exactly what you would expect from him. He was about to switch into shopping mode when a strange scream suddenly scared everyone. The guys immediately rushed to find the source of the scream and did not even consider that it might be a trap. When they finally reached the spot, they froze and felt their blood run cold. A massive monster had already killed many people, and there was no way to help them now. Jaehyuk could not hold back his emotions and stepped forward with an unstoppable urge to tear that creature apart. Linhyo tried to stop him, but it did not work. Sometimes emotions take control, and the only thing left is revenge. Sit back and get comfortable, because now we are about to see what the soldier can do without the support of his powerful friends. Even without magical skills, he is extremely well trained physically, but I am not sure that will be enough. The first strike landed perfectly, but that alone was not enough to win. Kim could not watch her friend get killed and instantly showed her accuracy. The throw was risky, but it still hit the target perfectly. After that, all they needed was a soft landing like the best airline in the world. Looks like everything worked out here too, but time is running out faster and faster. According to the administrator, a new project and a new mission have begun. The challenge is called The Hunt, and honestly the name already says everything. To reach the next stage, you need to earn 500 points, and of course that means killing monsters. The map shows where the creatures are located, and even their approximate level. There is just one small problem: there are about 5,000 monsters, which already sounds like mass suicide. They either have to accomplish the impossible or turn into dust. After studying the map, Linhyo realized the target is not only monsters. The creature that gives the highest reward for killing is the main hero himself. Looks like the creators of the system decided to challenge him, and now he is the main target for every participant in the hunt. The news is terrible, and the consequences are much closer than they appear. A small group of survivors is already here, and they are convinced that killing one guy is much easier than hunting a bunch of monsters. Their motives are just as dirty as parties at P. Diddy. Now they will have to defend themselves not only from monsters but from other humans as well. Then the system made things even worse and ordered everyone to gather in one safe location. This was done so it would be convenient for everyone to start the hunt for Linhyo. The guy has no choice left except to walk over heads and kill anyone who dares to challenge him. Getting to the nearest safe zone is going to be quite a long walk. The villains decided to delay the bloody execution until Linhyo has nowhere left to run. I honestly do not understand why he is walking straight into a place where everyone dreams about killing him. Is this some kind of suicide attempt, or is our main hero just a fan of suffering? By the way, I forgot one important detail. Nobody actually knows yet which of the 3 players is worth 5,000 points. The villains understand they have to kill one of the 3 players, but they have no idea which one it is. If they fail to discover the truth, then Kim and Jaehyuk could get hurt. Right now, they already reached the safe zone, and once again it would not be complete without some female screaming. The girls are asking for help because right now a massive monster is chasing them. This time it is not a cute kitty, but a giant bear, and they dragged it straight into the safe zone. The bear rushed toward the crowd, and every step made the ground shake. The girls need to hurry and reach the safe zone before they turn into a tasty snack. One of the bandits decided to interfere and ruin everything because someone else's death would be much more convenient for him. This fat bastard does not care about children, but will Linhyo really stay out of it? Looks like this time Kim took the initiative because lately she started believing in her abilities a little too much. Now she is convinced she can hit the target even with her eyes closed, and honestly she is absolutely right. The perverts liked the beautiful girl, and at that moment the assassin's nerves finally snapped. He decided to show who is in charge here and punish those who ignore basic human laws. Spineless slime like that deserves to pay for their behavior with blood. They overestimated their abilities and quickly found themselves on their knees. By the time the mission ended, the villains realized it would be smarter not to move, but their leader thought differently and got way too excited when he saw the 2 sexy girls. He convinced his partners to help and take the girls hostage so they could start making demands again. After all, the mission is called The Hunt, and nobody said you cannot hunt humans. But if they want to play dirty, then they should be ready for a low blow in return. The sisters managed to break free even though they had no abilities at all. All this time Linhyo watched quietly, holding back his emotions so he would not turn into a monster himself. But now his patience finally broke when he saw people crossing every possible line. With a burst of acceleration, he decapitated the bear in a single motion and earned an extra 100 experience points, and then walked straight toward the three arrogant bastards to take his revenge. Actually, this should have been done half an hour ago, when those scumbags first showed up. One move was enough to cut off one of their arms and then teach the rest a lesson. The funniest part is that even that wasn't enough, and the main villain just kept running his mouth. If he wants to stay alive, he should be on his knees begging the kids for mercy, but he just refuses to get it. Even his own friends tried to talk some sense into him, because none of them wanted to fight someone with skills like Linho. The boss isn't used to backing down and quickly called his helpers useless bastards who forgot whose hand feeds them. A conflict broke out and two of them easily took down one fat psycho. Linho didn't even have to get his hands dirty so he can be satisfied. The rest of the guys apologized and ran off before it was too late. But the moment they stepped outside the safe zone, some unknown dark force rose up against them. The guys started shaking and backed away, but you can't run from fate. A huge hungry grizzly finally got a taste of human flesh and looks like it wants more of those dumb losers in a bloody sauce. While everyone around was panicking, the assassin was thinking about what to do next. He told everyone to calm down and reminded them that right now they need to think about earning points. Killing a monster is almost a guaranteed ticket to the next stage, but for that even little girls have to arm themselves and get ready to fight even if they would rather sit at home and watch cartoons. They took his words, literally remembered every Indian action movie they've seen in their lives, and switched on fight till the last drop of blood mode. Pretty soon this small squad racked up a ton of points and ran into other survivors. There they found old friends who were doing fine, but now is not the time to relax, because there are too many people around who want to move on to the next stage and are ready to use dirty methods. The main character and his friends got surrounded. People quickly turned into monsters, and the tension hit the limit. In an apocalypse world, after one problem shows up, another one pops right after it. If these people want points that badly and are ready to spit on their conscience for it, then they will have to accept the challenge and see what real speed and class look like. Linho sped up and snatched a sword from one of the attackers. Now he is going to try on his own to protect himself and his friends. Looks like the guy decided to run a masterclass, but it definitely won't be free. He advises them not to test their luck and leave before it's too late. The words and the technique worked fast, and the idiots decided to back off. The next safe zone will be created in 5 hours, and all this time players have to keep killing monsters and earning points. Friends suggest getting away from the crowd so they don't take risks and bring trouble on themselves. The idea isn't bad, but where there are more people there are more chances to stop a monster invasion. Linho offered another option and asked for help. Not long after that, he killed another monster, which made a little girl happy who is getting more bloodthirsty every day. The rest of the team are not sitting around either because everyone is playing their role. The points need to be distributed properly so everyone makes it to the next stage. Linho, as always, tries to help everyone, like he still doesn't understand he isn't all-powerful. The watchers, on the other hand, want blood and spectacle because that is exactly why they came to watch the restructuring. A bit later, the assassin found his friends who had already finished off another monster. Each of them not long ago was just an ordinary office worker, and now they are a real team of killers, and by the way, the little girl is one of them too. But it is still too early for her to fight, especially against big bears, which are better left to Linho. The girl almost turned into a snack, and that clearly showed that there are no longer any truly safe zones left in this world. On this day, the main character managed to do everything. First he killed to stack up points, then to save the little girl, and then even found time to save other players. On top of the main points, kills also helped raise swordsmanship skills and even brought the team closer together. Long story short, they were cutting people down hard that day and showed no mercy. Yeah, I am already tired of all these constant killings. Feels like I turned on a new Freddy Krueger movie. In general, everyone present got a lot of points, and now it is time to return to the safe zone. But the moment everyone relaxed, the little girl named Yule again caused a bunch of extra problems by getting herself into trouble. Now she has to be saved again from another monster all over again. I already thought all the wild cats were dead and only huge grizzly bears were left. But don't rush to panic about little Yule because she is fine. Turns out that all this time she had a special stealth skill. The girl can turn invisible and even hide her allies. Not long ago on the train she already showed this talent when Linho couldn't find her for a long time. So when she gets scared she just switches on invisibility mode, and no monster can find her. Soon the wildcat was killed and the squad ran to the safe zone while there was still some time left. Linho suggested holding hands to enter at the same time. But we all understand that this pervert actually just wanted to touch Kim's soft skin because he has been into her for a long time. On top of that, by holding hands, little Yule can make absolutely the entire squad invisible to avoid extra problems in the safe zone. Because most players didn't manage to get enough points, and right before the mission ended they started fighting each other, which was way too predictable. Now they need to use their time wisely, so Linio went into the shop and spent points on a new skill called Wind Palm. I think the name is enough to understand that the skill is connected to the power of nature. With the new skill, Linho didn't even try to hide, and calmly walked out to face any threat. He doesn't want to kill anyone and instead tries to calm everyone down. You can get the required points without killing people because there is still time left to hunt monsters. If they team up, it won't be a problem, so it is better to drop the hatred and become human again. The players accepted his offer, but instead of fighting monsters, they had to work with shovels. They dug a big pit to create a trap. In places with a lot of fog, monsters appear from time to time and will immediately fall into the trap. Even a bear coming out of the fog takes one step forward and lands on sharp spikes, and at that moment it feels about the same as a person hitting their little toe on a cabinet or a door. And the most important thing is that the plan works and everyone gets their long-awaited points. What can I say? Linho really is a genius, but even that is not enough to save everyone. The system reported an error and told everyone to brace for impact. No one understood what was going on because everyone was sure they were already one step into the next round. Yule almost fell into the abyss, and only Kim stepping in at the right moment helped once again save the girl and her father. By that time, black fog had covered everything around them. The fog wrapped around people and dragged them down while they desperately tried to break free. Linhyo was desperately helping everyone who needed it, but almost got pulled into the abyss of death himself. There were only a few seconds left to hold on, and then the system would count the points, but sometimes even a few seconds can feel like eternity. The dark sludge finally stopped, and the system started counting. The hunting stage is finally over, and everyone can breathe out. As the best player of the round, Linhyo earned another reward, and even the title of Rebel. I don't know what all these titles give him, but it sounds pretty cool. Other players can't even dream of catching up to this guy because his rating has already hit the stratosphere while they are still in the tutorial. By the way, he only just noticed two kids who were talking about something really intensely. But when he mentioned the kids, it turned out no one else could see them. This is what happens when players fight too much. Looks like the main character has lost his mind, but that just makes it more fun to watch. The kids floated up into the air and flew away, and no one even noticed. They were talking about some kind of detailed report, and Linhyo decided to find out the truth. He followed them, completely forgetting to put on a jacket, forgetting about the danger and his need to rest. Soon they came out to meet him themselves, like they were luring him into a trap. And these kids are not simple. You can tell they have been on TikTok since childhood and reached the highest level of enlightenment. On top of that, they have a freezing ability, and Linhyo completely forgot to put on a jacket. He lost consciousness and woke up tied up, but not in the way you think. The kids themselves didn't understand why he could see them because they are hidden from all players. The kids are afraid that they will be scolded by some evil researcher who doesn't like when someone breaks the rules. As soon as they noticed the player had woken up, they immediately started acting like zombies and decided to kill him. Before killing him, they decided to study him like he was some kind of lab rabbit. By the way, these kids don't show up in the window like they are from a completely different universe. It looks creepy as hell, so it would be nice to get out of there fast and get back to his friends. Linhyo tried to calm the kids down and even started yelling at them. His whole life he has dealt with accusations thrown at him and decided to use that experience by switching into boss mode. He ordered the kids to call whoever is in charge, and it seems like they actually believed him and even started apologizing for their behavior. At the same time, Stonefist helped him break the rope right when the kids tried to erase his memory. Their plan failed hard, and now Linhyo is about to give them a masterclass in real martial arts. Anyone sensitive about kids should probably look away from the screen because this is about to get brutal. The guy tried to steal the restructuring report the kids had been working on for several days straight. They did everything they could to stop him because they knew they would get in trouble otherwise. Yeah, I never thought I would be describing a fight between kids and an adult genius. And the craziest part is that it is actually interesting, and for now the genius is far from winning. He dodged every hit but never went on the attack, and kept backing away. If Linhyo wants to win, he just needs to run instead of wasting time on pointless fights. He decided to use the green card and open a door to another reality. The plan worked, and now he is on a training arena with the instructor. Without wasting time, Linhyo stepped into the green hell where things have changed lately. The local bugs are starving and ready to give anything just to take a bite of fresh meat. The instructor purposely starved them so when Linhyo came back he would turn into prey. But when he went in to check the green hell, he couldn't believe his eyes because all the bugs were already dead, and the assassin was completely fine. His good mood was getting on the instructor's nerves. The guy looked like he was enjoying his own vulnerability. Looks like he got honeycombs again, and now calmly decided to return to his reality. The shocked instructor didn't even understand how his plan failed while Linhyo was already gone. He came back to the kids, but this time he was prepared and ate an ice cube. Now he can resist the ice for several minutes straight, and it looks like that is enough to beat two bratty punks. If he loses, I am telling you right now, we are ending it right here. I am just not ready to see a main character who came this far slip up. The ice couldn't stop him, which means with speed he can easily deal with these annoying slimes. He handled the sword like a pro and gave the kids a masterclass of real life, or simply put, their dreams will die like a gacha without donations. Now they are begging for mercy and trying to manipulate, but if they want to get out, they will have to hand over the restructuring report. Linhyo just wants to know about the next mission, and there is nothing criminal about that. If the administrator catches him, he promises not to expose his helpers and keep the secret until death. The kids didn't like it at all, but they have no other choice. His friends were already waiting for their leader and were really happy when he finally returned to the base. He had to apologize because everyone was really worried. Linhyo asked the soldier for help and said they need to go for a walk. They took shovels and started digging to make use of the new information. The system participants call themselves a company with their own community and discipline. Even there, their own rumors circulate and they were included in the report. After getting the information, Linhyo rushed to start digging and find the tower torch. It is an ancient artifact that allows you to absorb the power of fire and smoke. The next morning, a scared Kim went to look for her friends. The exhausted guys were just now coming back to the base. Jaeok looked like a zombie who had been used all night for dirty work. At that moment, a portal opened nearby, and Harona appeared with her assistant. The entrance test will start soon, and the girl has little time to explain. Anyone who doesn't want to participate gets released immediately. But it looks like it is not that simple, and there is no need to rush to conclusions. Linhyo didn't panic because he already knew what was waiting for him the next day, and had no intention of refusing and calmly waited for the qualification to start. After returning, Harona couldn't calm down for a long time because Linhyo seemed like an arrogant bastard to her. It was like he knew everything in advance, even though that should be impossible. Anyway, she already decided that in this test she would get a chance to get rid of Linhyo, and if too many people survive again, Harona will be the one in trouble, so she is dead serious. The players approach the Namsan tunnel where the safe zone is supposed to be. Now the arena is activated by the administrator, which means the real fun begins. This test will check abilities and force everyone to show their limit. Linhyo ordered everyone to grab their weapons and follow the plan from yesterday. He already knew what would happen, so he found that torch artifact. Now he lit the torch and quickly illuminated everything around. The first monsters appeared ahead and ran into the fog barrier. The report said they would have to fight night beasts, and you would think they would look a bit different. Either way, Linhyo didn't care who to kill, at least that is what he thought, until he saw that under the night mask was Yeji. Now that is interesting, but why is she here, and what is even going on? Inside the armor are not monsters but other players who disappeared somewhere before. The players froze, not understanding who to attack or what is even happening around them. The system orders them to survive the path of darkness, and for that they need to defend their territory. Looks like the administrator is creating all the conditions on purpose so people kill each other. And so far she is doing a perfect job. Everyone wants to reach the next stage, and the tension hit the limit. There are 2 minutes left to find a path, and 4 to get through the tunnel. A raging brute tried to take command, but Linhyo quickly reminded him who the boss is. This guy doesn't care about your muscles because he is already on another level. If someone needs to lose a hand, he will do it without hesitation, like it is just a game to him. Sometimes you have to show strength to lead people for their own good. You would think the big guy should drop to his knees and apologize before it is too late, but it is like his survival instinct is broken. He made a fatal mistake and lost his arm after another burst of speed from the assassin. His blood splashed everywhere, and Linhyo didn't even blink. Now everyone finally realized that you don't mess with this guy, and don't even twitch. He promises to help everyone survive if they follow his orders. All they have to do is go through the side tunnel and break through the barricades. For that you can use even the craziest methods. For example, just grab a mace and smash the wall like it is a joke. Time was running out, so everyone sped up and ran at full speed. The safe zone was right there, but there was no time left. Only thanks to luck the players made it in time, and that means the administrator is in big trouble. People were supposed to die, and now a new administrator has been assigned. A strange guy immediately rushed into the room. He looks like an alcoholic who just woke up after a 3-day wipe. This guy's name is Iro, and people say he is a fan of experiments. Somehow he found out about Linhyo and wants to get data on him because he thinks he is special. Harona doesn't want to share the information, but the weird researcher insists that the chosen one needs to be studied, and for that you need to use your head instead of just brute force. He advised to watch more carefully the assassin and not kill him under any circumstances, because he might still be useful to the company in the future. Meanwhile, the main character got the title guide for leading his allies to the safe zone. After the brute died, a lot of weapons appeared from his body, and now they can be used to defend against enemies. Even Linhyo got interested because he has been planning to get himself a shield like Captain America. Even the most basic players should have a way to protect themselves. At the same time, it is important to reward the strongest players so they can be even more useful later. Of course, that is about Jaeok, who earned a mace and a new portion of responsibility. he can give his sword to Juan, who needs to grow up and start helping the others too. And now jokes aside, because the second mission is starting, called Battle Simulation. At first it all looked like some kind of joke because no one warned them about this kind of scam. Everyone can choose the location where they will be buried, and Linio tells them to pick the city. They can't let themselves get scattered across different parts of the world because they won't be able to help each other. Everyone has to gather and focus because from the very start it is impossible to unite. The mission began, and for the first time the players found themselves completely alone. The situation is actually pretty bad. Linio is stuck in some green swamp somewhere in neutral territory. His goal is the flags that need to be pulled off the poles, and the undead will try to stop him, so the mission is way harder than it looks. To fight monsters you need solid footing, and that is basically impossible when you are standing in a swamp, plus there are way too many enemies, but there is some good news. Linio got his own skeletons that will follow his orders. He told them to follow him and watch every move. After activating the artifact, he immediately started covering the area in smoke, and fighting the clan became much easier because the skeletons have terrible awareness. He has limited time. If he fails to grab the flag, his life is over. But thanks to speed and intelligence, the victory flag quickly ended up in the assassin's hands. He thought that was it, but the skeletons were just getting warmed up and started surrounding him from all sides. Looks like getting the flag is not the only objective, and the main goal here is to survive, which is not that easy. He had to behead the main skeleton who was leading the enemy army. With skills like that, Linio should be able to hold out until the end. But that probably doesn't apply to his allies, who are much weaker. When fighting the undead, you always have to make sure they are fully dead, otherwise they will come back to life and keep fighting like nothing happened. Even a cut-off head doesn't guarantee a kill, which means the next few hours Linio will remember for the rest of his life. By the way, the skeleton general is way too confident. He probably watched a bunch of motivational videos online and started hyping up his soldiers, talking about how it is time to take over humanity and rule over pathetic humans. But Linio's allies didn't listen to any of that nonsense and kept doing their job no matter what. The main character deliberately possessed this skeleton to give orders without risking his real body. He got the knight's helmet and decided to say a few motivational lines too. The assassin called on everyone to unite around him and show that skeletons deserve respect. Honestly, it sounded kind of cringe, but no one laughed because Linio was pressing them with pure confidence. And when he put on the knight helmet, he straight up turned into a national hero. All the observers of this mission got even more interested in the guy who was now more and more often called the Chosen One. No one doubted that he would clear the mission, while the other players could only dream about it. Little Yule was just living a normal kid life not long ago. And now her dad has to hope she is hiding somewhere and pray she doesn't get killed. When a huge skeleton walked up to him carrying a child in its arms, the father thought it was over. But his daughter told him not to be scared and explained that she met Linio. The friends didn't get it right away either, and even caused some trouble before the main character managed to explain what was going on. You don't see your friend turn into a skeleton every day. The whole thing happened because he used Drosera seeds that let you copy any object. With his actions he attracted not only random observers but also the researcher Iro. He personally developed the skeleton skills, and now those advantages are being used by one of the players. It seemed impossible because it goes against basic logic. The confused scientist didn't even know what to do, but at the same time he liked the challenge. Now he is asking for the assassin to be brought to him because this guy is definitely the chosen one. By decision of the main administrator, restrictions were placed on the mission. Now absolutely all skills are blocked, and that is not even everything. A strange portal appeared in the sky, and it looks like some terrifying monster is about to come out of it. Running is too risky, so Linio suggests taking the fight. Whoever comes out of that portal, he and his team are ready to throw hands. Talking big is easy, but backing it up can be a problem. When a stone monster stepped out of the portal, even the most confident fighters felt their knees shake. Before this, they fought panthers, bears, and even wyverns, but they had never seen a guy this huge before. When Linio tried to land the first hit, he realized the sword aura wasn't working, the restrictions were crushing him, and the speed boost was just gone. But he still pushed forward because his sports mindset taught him to never give up and always go all the way. Normal attacks didn't work on the monster because it was way too strong and tough. He had to switch tactics and ask his friends for help. They are ready to do anything, but there isn't even time to explain right now. The assassin will send a message when he gets the chance, and for now his squad has to act on their own. After buying some time, he managed to send the plan and now has to wait for backup. I can't even imagine what he came up with and how regular people are supposed to beat something that huge. While the main character was holding off constant attacks, the allies climbed onto the roof and got ready to join in. Jayok handed over his mace, and then the skeletons joined in, throwing down their own ribs. Yeah, you heard that right, they were throwing their ribs down like that is somehow a normal idea. And the author really wants us to believe that was enough to beat a giant monster. I have never seen anything dumber in my life, and yeah, I have watched Jim Carrey movies all the way through. Anyway, it looks like they actually beat the monster and even leveled up. The system congratulated them, but everyone was too scared to celebrate. No one relaxed like they were all waiting for the next hit. The authority of the temporary administrator has changed, and now begins an update for the stone monster. Now instead of stone, it is protected by iron, and this is not even a monster, it is a budget, Optimus Prime. Linio doesn't have time to be upset because 1 second of hesitation will cost his whole team their lives. He has to take control and hope for support from his friends. The main monster locks onto the assassin, and it even has a cannon for that. He fires some kind of iron bullets that can easily tear a skeleton apart and scatter bones all over the city. You can't keep defending forever with just a regular sword. You need to come up with something new, like using Kim's psychokinesis support. Sounds good, but now she draws way too much attention and could get crushed in a second. Linio immediately sent a message to his commander and told him to show courage and honor. The commander gathered all the fighters around him and ordered them to fight to the last. They didn't care about the consequences at all, because Linio had them completely fired up. That is what happens when you watch success videos and start dreaming about millions and then actually get off the couch to do something. On top of the giant transformer, the other players also got boosted, so now there is a real chance to win. The skeletons climbed inside the robot and destroyed it from within, while Linio delivered his strongest strike from the outside. They moved like one machine and for the second time took down that giant who was getting on everyone's nerves. The skeletons kept breaking one after another inside the body, tearing it apart from the inside. The commander deserved to receive a knight helmet and rank up to general because he showed real courage and honor. As for the other players, they survived thanks to the invisibility system, so no one got seriously hurt, and everyone should pass to the next stage without exceptions. Linio even absorbed the adamantium the giant transformer was made of. That was the final straw for the new administrator, who couldn't keep watching his plans fall apart. He wanted to make the mission even harder, but the system refused. He should probably calm down because even Hirona acted more restrained, even though she is just a little kid. Meanwhile, this little troublemaker, together with her assistant, was preparing reports for the higher-ups. She got a message from the scientist, who was apparently giving back the administrator rights after failing his task, like some businessman after bankruptcy, moving back in with his mom. By the way, among the observers, Linhyo became insanely popular, and now everybody who feels like it is talking about him. A guy like that would be profitable to sell, and it looks like that might actually be possible. So the main character better not relax and remember that it is not just him trying to reach the system is also trying to reach him. All the skeletons got buffed thanks to the mission success. There were also a few major gifts that will matter later. The assassin finally returned to normal. Everyone already thought they would never see him in his old form again, and Jaeok was even hoping he would become the most handsome guy in the office again. Now the players are waiting for the final mission of the project that tests whether they are fit. This time the observers will rate the content like followers on social media. The candidate who gets the most donations from the observers is guaranteed to pass to the next round. The observers want to see memories, but Linhyo has a problem with that. There are not many bright moments in his life, and everything is pretty dead and miserable. So for the first time he ends up in a situation where his position could actually shake. To avoid problems he wants to talk to the managers, even though that could make everything worse. He boldly called out to the eye and demanded an immediate meeting. To get permission he offers an idea that would bring extra income to the whole system. Before that they need to stop observing and activate immersion. Not just watch, but directly live through part of the participants' lives. Everyone already knows perfectly well that the restructuring is needed so the system can make money by selling content to observers. For the content to get better they need to dive into the players instead of just watching them from the side. Linhyo suggests charging money for immersion because it is breakthrough technology. For his idea he wants to take a 50% cut because he is not afraid of anything. Now there are even more questions, which means Hirona is ready to take the risk. But for that they will have to hold an auction to push the price as high as possible. Linhyo is sure there will be a ton of people interested, so he gives the administrator just a few minutes to think. Now that is what I call real negotiation, not this lame modern politics. Hirona blushed and started breathing heavy because she had no idea how to react to all this. Usually players are against showing their past, but this guy is offering to go even further and let people feel his emotions. It feels like he knows all the system's plans, and his idea is not that bad. They can turn on a trial period and see where it goes. The stats for last month are just depressing. Besides Linhyo, no one managed to attract the observers or bring in good money, so they have to accept his idea and see what happens. The only question is on what basis to give trial access. Voice connection restored, and Linhyo gets permission to test his idea. The revenue will count as standard donations, but the rules still can't be broken. The guy got even bolder and demanded observer rights for the duration of the trial. He doesn't want anyone digging through his memories, so there is nothing strange about that. Now he signed the contract and became the first one who can actually influence the system. The observers started competing and throwing money like it is a live stream of a hype streamer. Everyone is especially interested in his sports career, which became the foundation of his future wins. Back then he was an unbeatable runner before the serious injury. The old Linhyo didn't listen to anyone, ran without warming up, and was sure he had no real competition. Even though one student from another school had been trying to beat him for a long time, their rivalry was real, like Godzilla versus King Kong. The main character was so full of himself that he even told his rival to become his personal slave. But that guy could never do anything because Linhyo was always one step ahead. He could even get into a fight before a race and saw nothing wrong with it. From the outside he looked like a typical toxic guy who already annoyed everyone. Then the disaster will humble him and he will become a better version of himself. But for now he can use the observer skills he fought for in those negotiations. Other observers pushed Linhyo to first place in the content rankings, and now he can relax a bit and check on his friends. He can see not only their skills but also their past memories, and in the middle of all that he found something horrible. Right now a lot of people are watching Kim's memories because it is always interesting how the main character saves his beautiful girl. The observers kept commenting on everything and dropping a ton of donations. Thanks to that, Kim even managed to climb the rankings even though she was almost at the bottom before. It is always nice to watch romantic feelings develop. After a while the comments got way too explicit and dirty, so I am not even going to comment on that, my upbringing won't let me. Linho decided to switch perspective and see how his friend Jaehyuk is doing, who also has some special memories. He wasn't always a successful guy who could take down an enemy with one hit. His physical strength only showed up after school, and before that he was just a weak nobody that no one ever took seriously. The guy had to literally fight for himself, and the observers loved it. They dropped big donations just to see how the fight would end between one of the heroes and some school bullies. Looks like Jaehyuk was already ruthless back then and didn't care about dirty moves or consequences. He calmly gouged out his opponent's eyes and then started knocking out the teeth of his helper. Watching this was pure entertainment. The guy was clearly born to star in action movies with Jason Statham. It is kind of crazy that all of that didn't break his mind, and Jaehyuk stayed a normal person, if you can even call it that. Anyway, it looks like he is not getting eliminated from the restructuring because memories like that sell well, and he can be sure the donations will keep coming. But there is another character here that needs attention because he hides his face and did some horrible things in the past. His name is X, and it looks like he is a professional killer who is currently in second place in the rankings and trying to push Linho down. And now an investigation begins to catch the masked killer and figure out who he really is. Time was running out, and very soon the results would be announced. Only now the truth about Linhyo's memories finally came out. Turns out this sneaky guy got observer rights just to swap his memories and plant a soul into a completely different person. All this time the observers were watching another runner and eating it up like it was the original. He did it so he wouldn't have to show his lame childhood, and instead hook the observers with toughness and overconfidence. So basically the main character was never a villain, which means all his fans can relax and breathe out. The donation flow shot up, and Linho locked in first place. When the gap in the rankings got a bit smaller, this guy even pulled out the ace he had been hiding the whole time. He just lifted his shirt and showed off his insane abs, and instantly the female audience doubled their donations and no one could touch first place anymore. The mission came to an end, and everyone saw the final ranking. Mr. X took second place, and Linho got a strange device that lets him see what is hidden from the eye. He will have to figure all that out, but first it would be better to find the wolf among the sheep. By the way, Kim took fourth place, all thanks to her romance with the main character, even though she won't admit it. Before the next mission, they need to get some rest and use that time wisely. One of the nice and innocent-looking players is actually a brutal killer with a horrible past. This day has to be spent on an investigation, or the consequences could turn into a disaster. Right after those words, a huge bear appeared out of nowhere. It roared and charged straight at the group to see who had the guts. The soldier stepped forward to show the power of his crazy mace. He hasn't been afraid of anything for a long time, so he fought like the win was already his. And even though the bear managed to injure him, Jaehyuk still came out on top. The bear got folded with the very first hit, which shows insane progress from the soldier. And now I will be honest, I am starting to suspect literally everyone who could possibly be the killer. There are way too many shady people here, from cooks to little girls, and I don't even want to hear excuses because the killer could be the one you least expect. What if Kim puts on a mask at night and smiles while killing people? It sounds crazy, but I personally trust no one, and it looks like Linho agrees with me, so he switches into Sherlock Holmes mode and runs a top-level investigation. Not long ago, some cook showed up here who thinks a white uniform saves him from responsibility. The schoolgirl is also under suspicion. Maybe she made her first kill when a teacher gave her a bad grade, and then just got used to it and started enjoying it. Long story short, you can find a motive for literally everyone, even for the young couple, a student and a doll-looking girl. Linio asked a ton of questions and even kept an eye on the father and child. Maybe the dad leaves the girl alone with her grandma at night, and then pulls a stocking over his head and starts a massacre in shopping malls. Closer to the evening, the assassin decided to take a walk to think through all his theories. He went into a local supermarket and felt that someone messed up the air. But it wasn't some random fat guy, it was a planned poison gas attack. The doors were sealed, which means we are looking at a classic murder attempt. Of course he managed to break out, and now he is going to speed up the investigation. A young father showed up nearby and was the first to help. He always seemed like a good guy, and Linio didn't even want to suspect him. That leaves the student and the doll girl along with the mysterious chef and our old acquaintance Juan. All of them are under serious suspicion and need to explain what they were doing in the last few minutes. I think it is not hard to guess what happened next, because anyone who watched detective stories knows everyone has an alibi. Linio said he was just attacked and started questioning them. Turns out the chef was here planning to roast some tasty rats over a fire. The young couple also didn't go anywhere and were staying warm together with Juan. Long story short, at first glance they all look like innocent victims of circumstances, but I don't buy it. Linio already built his theory and was just waiting for the moment to confirm his suspicions. Most viewers probably think the killer is the guy in the cap, but that is not the case at all. If you listen to each of them, no one has any problems with their alibi, but thanks to the help of the mage they managed to find out who has the stealth skill. The girl they call the doll was actually hiding her intentions. The moment she realized that Linhyo was a threat to her, she immediately tried to get rid of him. Bears don't go down into the city, which means she lured him there on purpose. Then she used her main skill and tried to poison the assassin, knowing no one would suspect her. Now she is acting like she did nothing wrong and got set up. Thanks to her high rank, she managed to buy poison gas and plan her attack perfectly. When she got cornered, she stopped denying it and finally showed her true nature. Now that the investigation is over, they just need to get rid of this filthy psycho who thought she was some kind of professional killer. I can't even imagine what the student she was dating is thinking after finding out she was putting his worn-out sock on her head and killing people at night. After that, there is no such thing as trust anymore. This piece of trash needs to be taken out without hesitation. She tried everything to stab and then shoot the main character, but he stayed one step ahead every time. Even though she fought smart, you can't win with tricks alone. In the end, he just overpowered her head-on and left her no chance. Soon the assassin finally landed the hit and pierced the doll's fragile body. Her run ended fast and the game is over for her. During that time, she bought a lot of useful items, which of course now go to Linhyo. By the way, the gun is not bad even if it looks kind of girly. At least it is better than a sword, and in a critical moment, even one bullet can save your life. The chef personally vouched for the doll, which means now there are way too many suspicions about him. If he lied on purpose, then he should go to hell, but it looks like one kill is enough for today. Linhyo gave him a final warning and then a second chance. He decided to get some rest, and Kim as always kept him company. They haven't just sat and talked about life like this in a long time. The world has changed, and now there is not even time to just talk like normal people. The next morning, the survivors woke up and did a quick warm-up because another trial is about to begin. The system created a safe zone they will have to run to. As always, there is limited time and danger everywhere, which means just how we like it. At that same minute, Hirona was rushing to pack her things before an important meeting with the director. The last meeting went pretty badly, so this time the reports have to be perfect. In the next missions, most of the players are supposed to die. That pretty much guarantees high views and great ratings. But of course, every player has their own view on everything that is happening. They are not going down without a fight, and instead plan to go all the way and even get revenge on those who dragged them into this madness. Today will be split into 3 main parts, and each one will have a special mission they have to complete. The system keeps putting players in bad situations, and today again it decided to screw them over. Before they were separated so each could complete their own personal mission, but now they are being separated to face each other not as allies but as enemies. Special safe zones will be created right next to each other. The players got split up and forced to fight each other like in some cheap reality show. An old guard is forced to risk his life to beat a young rapper. The situation is messed up, and just recently they were friends and even planned to drop a track together. As time ran out, the pressure hit the limit and people had to take risks. The rapper didn't want to kill a grown man, but he also didn't want to disappear and end his life without achieving anything. This time, luck stepped in. After the bullet ricocheted off the shield and injured the young guy, the system counted it as a win for the old man, which means killing is not required. Linhyo quickly figured out what was going on and told everyone to calm down. To clear the mission, you don't have to try to chop each other's heads off. It is enough to pull out someone's hair and just shoot it to pass to the next stage. Call it whatever you want, a system bug or a gift from the heavens, but it actually works. Everyone immediately started doing the same thing. and confidently moved on to the next stage. Everyone was celebrating and thanking Linhyo for saving them again, like he just renewed their subscription. Now they have a bit of time to rest because very soon the next stage is about to start, and all that joy will disappear real fast. Turns out there are a lot of talented guys and girls around who can help in future fights. The next mission started without any preparation. First they made people fight each other, and now it is time to team up against a huge monster. A dangerous snake is no joke because one bite can cost your life, and the main thing is that the pairs are assigned completely randomly, so you can't choose a partner in advance. At the same time, no one is stopping you from using artifacts and thinking smart. Linhyo is confident in his win and tells his friends not to worry because today he is coming back with fresh snakeskin and will get Kim a new bag. He has to fight together with the rapper who can summon beasts to help him. Unfortunately, his skill doesn't work on the snake, but he can call something else. The guy is clearly talented and even asks for a chance to prove himself. His injury slows him down, but the skill is still useful. The assassin decided to take a risk and let him show a few tricks. A moment later he summoned a gorilla and it actually looked promising. But even the strongest gorilla won't do anything to a giant anaconda. You need more than brute force here. You have to use brains and skill, and Linhyo has always been a master at that. Turns out the snake can heal its wounds, and normal attacks don't work on it. On top of that, it keeps attacking with poison, so you have to both attack and defend smart. For the first few minutes, Linhyo couldn't find an approach to this monster. The guy's attacks weren't doing anything like Trump taxes, but he bought some time and figured out that you have to attack from the inside, or it is over. So a second later he ran straight into the snake's mouth, like a guy going for his first kiss. That is where the girly gun finally came in clutch. The monster can't heal from the inside, and that is why it got destroyed. Now let's go back to the girl administrator who met with the director today and started feeding him fairy tales about how the reports are breaking records and bringing in tons of money. Of course, the experienced man and his assistants knew it was all lies and that one of the players has been messing everything up for a while now. The director became interested in Linhyo for the first time, and at that moment, Hirona promised that the guy would not survive this day and would soon stop being a problem. Right at that second, the system announced that absolutely all participants of the restructuring passed to the next stage without serious issues. The viewers might have questions because Linhyo is bringing in money through paid streams and it becomes unclear why they would want to kill him. And that is true, but the audience is slowly losing interest because thanks to one player, the weak ones are not dying. The system promised blood and spectacle, but instead half the players are still alive. To somehow deal with Linhyo, they put restrictions on him for the next mission, so he would not be as fast and strong as before. At the same time, they forgot to limit his brain, which is still making the right calls. He has to climb inside the snake's body to get the valuable core. His friends wanted to help, but couldn't decide who would go into the monster's stomach. Looks like they all talk big, but when it comes to action, everyone runs in different directions. So he had to get his hands dirty himself and dive into that disgusting body again. But the result was worth it because the red crystal boosts stats, and that is very useful when your skills are weakened. Now Linhyo feels a bit better and can prepare for the next stage. By the way, the rapper's girl thanked him for the help because without the assassin, her boyfriend would not have made it. Then the system annoyed everyone again without giving them even a minute of rest. No breaks today, and the third mission is about to begin. As soon as the countdown started, everything around them changed instantly. The familiar faces of friends now look like terrifying monsters. The mission is called Nightmare because everyone sees each other in completely different forms, and on top of that, real monsters were sent after the players, so they get confused and don't know who is a friend and who is an enemy. The situation is really bad, and everything is set up to create maximum slaughter for content. The restrictions don't let Linhyo move properly, but at least his own friends are not attacking him because they are busy fighting. Somehow he needs to affect each of them and stop the bloodbath, but it is unclear how to do it. The most interesting part is that Kim still sees Linhyo the same as before, and even says he is insanely handsome. This girl should chill with her thirst because right now it is way more important to solve the real problem instead of thinking about getting alone time with the main character. First they need to bring the players back to normal and only then deal with the real monsters flooding the city. For that they can't do it without a magic potion, and the hero got really lucky that all the ingredients are available in the shop right now. After stacking a lot of points, he can buy anything and not hold back. A few minutes later the potion is ready, and now they can cure every single participant. Kim has to help because the main character's knee has been out of commission for a while now. Everyone has to take 3 sips or they will stay monsters forever. Even though the madness scared everyone, the magic potion quickly brought people back to normal. Everyone felt way better, and as always, there is one person to thank for that. Now they can calmly grab their weapons and deal with the remaining monsters who think they are some high-level demons. Jahyok and Linhyo got to work and happily chopped monsters apart like they are getting paid for it. Now the city is finally cleared except for one huge demon that needs to be taken out as fast as possible. The assassin took that job and rushed forward, cutting through everything in his way. 2 quick moves were enough, and now the third mission is fully cleared. As a reward, they can get the demon core, which you can't buy in the shop because it boosts stats way too much. At last, all this chaos is over, and now we can at least get a little rest. The party was a huge success. You can tell by the number of corpses and wounded people around. The system granted a well-deserved break, and now there is finally a chance to catch a breath. At the same time, a strange message appeared, saying that the rules of the game would change very soon. Few people paid attention to it because everyone was used to immediately checking their rewards. The attentive Linhyo was not going to relax and knew that a conspiracy against humans had been brewing for a long time, which meant there was no way he could think that the worst was already behind them. He reviewed his stats and began to wonder what to expect next. The answer turned out to be as simple as possible. Next, he was waiting for a well-deserved rest, like an experienced con artist who was caught and thrown into prison for the rest of his life. There are no guarantees that people will ever get out of here and return to their previous lives. During moments of rest, these thoughts constantly press down and do not allow proper relaxation. There is no time to think during battles, but now sadness hits like a tsunami. You cannot break under pressure because that is exactly what the system administrators are waiting for. Besides, everything is not as bad as it seems at first glance. Previously, Linhyo was a disabled loner, but now he has recovered from his problem and even gained close friends with whom it is always pleasant to talk. He decided to spend his free time usefully and talked with each of them before tomorrow's trial. During the battles, the main character noticed the weaknesses of his friends and asked them to fix their mistakes. For this, they need to properly use their skills and, of course, buy good equipment in the shop. He is sure that a few correct tips and even the weakest idiot on the planet can become at least a little more successful. Linhyo was not going to hint at anyone, although everything was already obvious. For example, the young father is clearly a weakling, and if he wants to protect his little daughter, then it is time for him to fix that. Several more hours passed in this atmosphere until the evening came before the next trial. Harona is satisfied with the progress of the humans. They create decent ratings, even though they were initially meant to be eliminated. At the same time, it should not be forgotten that it is deaths that guarantee a large number of views. No matter how talented Linhyo is, he will not be able to protect everyone if the right trial is chosen for them. The next morning, the participants were not even allowed to brush their teeth and were immediately thrown into a cage with a predator. Linhyo looked around and saw that he was in an arena. The creators were clearly inspired by the Colosseum and built something similar. The restructuring participants were split up and forced to fight a dragon. Now this is something new, and it will be much more interesting to watch. Of course, it is fun to watch people fight to enter a safe zone where the number of places is limited. But watching a battle against a dragon will definitely be far more exciting. First, they need to try to unite, otherwise nothing will remain of Linhyo's friends. Instead of a proper weapon, he decided to pick up some kind of bone. This is roughly how archaeologists fight when they start arguing about whether a skeleton belongs to a dinosaur or a dead dog. The dragon will not forgive such disputes and will quickly roast the humans to a tasty and crispy crust. If they do not want such a fate, then they should stall for time and wait for the guy who always cleans up the mess to come to the rescue. Linhyo managed to give several pieces of advice, but I doubt they will help in this case. He found a quick way to his friends and quickly climbed onto the central wall. By the way, before the battle, all the participants' stats were instantly reduced. For an ordinary squad of office plankton, this is the same as a death sentence. But knowing the main character, I have no doubt that he will come up with something. For some reason, the dragon is in no hurry to attack, as if it has taken a waiting position and is watching what the humans will do. This provided an opportunity to use hidden skills thanks to an artifact obtained during previous battles. Now everyone can receive a boost and challenge the ruthless monster. Linhyo showed how to buy the artifact in the shop. He received the item for completing a mission while everyone else will have to spend their money. Now that the allies have received their enhancement, it is time to warm up a little and get to work. Everyone immediately grabbed their weapons as if an ordinary sword could help kill a dragon. In any normal story, dragons are protected by incredibly durable scales. The players either do not know this or think that the scales can be pierced with some pathetic piece of iron. The assassin jumped onto the dragon's back and felt like a tiny bug. First, the monster's tail became a problem, and then its fiery breath. By the way, I look about the same after a serving of tacos with hot sauce. It is good that at least the enhancement works and prevents turning into a charred pebble, although that is not certain. Only incredible reflexes and speed helped avoid meeting the sharp teeth of this fire-breathing devil. The first attempt turned out to be a failure. On top of that, his friends were just watching and not helping at all. Linhyo was acting like an amateur. He needed to offer his friends a bonus or promise that he would pay off his debts. As soon as he did that, they finally rushed into the attack and started helping as if their lives depended on it. The monster's stats immediately began to drop along with its health. Despite its massive size, it could do very little and simply could not keep up with the defense. Even when you are attacked by tiny lice from all sides, it becomes a serious problem. Do not forget that all the restructuring participants received a significant boost, and thanks to this they managed to wound the monster. The legendary tough scales cracked, and after that the outcome of the battle was sealed. The enormous fire-breathing dragon was beheaded, and now Linhyo would have to explain to his friends that he was joking about the bonus and about paying off his debts. It is possible that after this he will face problems far more dangerous than meeting the dragon, but that is a completely different story. No negative consequences should be expected only from Kim, who is still looking at Linhyo with loving eyes. They are clearly hiding their feelings, and if no one were around, they would have already arranged some forbidden content. By the way, after the victory, everyone began harvesting the dragon's scales to improve their own defense. This is probably one of the few truly brilliant moves that will actually help in the future. Although obtaining the scales is not easy, the system then automatically transforms them into a full knight's chainmail. It looks very cool and at the same time remains completely unnoticeable. Also, after killing the dragon, a strange red sphere was found without any explanation. Now that the job is done, they can celebrate the success without champagne, blackjack, and music. At least there were no casualties, and on top of that, the system once again decided to surprise all the restructuring participants. Each of them received an exit ticket. The system claims that everyone can use their ticket and leave the arena to gain freedom. This should be treated with extreme skepticism. The administrators make money from selling content, and they will never let go of people who bring in cash. At the same time, staying in the arena makes no sense, which means the ticket has to be used. Linhyo gathered everyone around him and warned that they needed to stick together to ensure their safety. His friends immediately supported him and said they were ready to follow his orders. Then the massive gates opened and the participants felt the scent of grass and young flowers coming from deep within the forest. They were somewhere far from the city, and it felt incredibly refreshing. For the first time in a long while they changed their surroundings, replacing the office building with a lush green landscape. The moment of peace did not last long. The weather changed rapidly, and intuition suggested that something was clearly wrong. First came underground tremors similar to a powerful earthquake. Staying there was extremely dangerous, and Linhyo gave the order to run forward, cutting down all the trees in their path with swords and magical power. The defenders of the forest watching this recap probably felt a sharp pain in their hearts. They should relax a little and forget about how important it is to protect the environment. The weather kept shifting every second, and flashes of lightning appeared in the sky. A little girl noticed that the sky looked strange, as if someone had painted it. The system gave a hint, saying that they needed to get outside, but at first no one understood what those words meant. Only the quick-witted Linhyo, who had figured out how to defeat the dragon, managed to solve the puzzle once again. No matter how much these people enjoyed being in the green forest filled with the scent of flowers, it was nothing more than an illusion they would have to escape from. To do this, Linhyo asked for Kim's help so she could assist him in reaching the sky, and proving that he was absolutely right. The others looked as if the guy had gone crazy and was suggesting complete nonsense. Nevertheless, her heart wanted to help, and Kim quickly agreed. She had to share her power to help the leader rise into the heavens. What followed were classic special effects that were in no way inferior to Hollywood. And all of it was done without a green screen. Now that is what I call top level. As they were flying upward, Kim still thought the guy was crazy, and that it would be better for her to fall in love with someone else. Eventually, she chose to trust him, and even grabbed her gun while Linhyo held onto his weapon along with the artifact. He rubbed the sword with the red sphere, and then asked her one last time to trust him when he struck the sky. They attacked together as if on cue, and strangely enough it worked. The protective barrier began to collapse, and even the system, which demanded that they stop, could do nothing about it. Everyone watched in astonishment, waiting for the outcome. The barrier was almost completely destroyed, and only a single strike remained. He could have simply said something unpleasant, like how TikTok causes schizophrenia, but the blow alone was enough. In the end, the sky shattered like a glass window, after a precise hit with a stone. Watching it was incredibly satisfying, and the feeling was impossible to compare with anything else. The real sky opened before the players, and everyone felt that it was a victory. After that, Kim helped everyone ascend so they could escape the illusory arena and reach their hometown, which was much closer than it seemed. She had to spend a tremendous amount of energy, but the result was worth it. Now they were far from the forest, but at least they were finally in the real world.